Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live Chino's Arsenal match reaction for one of the worst preseason games I've seen under Mikel Arteta. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I am so happy that I did not switch my hair appointment. I was like, oh, but the game. I no longer allow Arsenal to stop me from doing things because I'm like, I'm not gonna look ugly while Arsenal are playing like shit. Like nobody wins, so at least I'm winning. But listen, I watched that game on my phone and I was just like, am I surprised? Not really, because what we saw against Spurs was alarming. The alarm bells were already going. And then it only exacerbated today with the play, So I think we have a long show ahead of us. People were asking for a therapy session. If you need a therapy session in preseason, you already know it's dark. And before we get started, I just want to say, for anybody that's it's just preseason, it's just preseason. It is just preseason, so it's not really about the result. I'm not that concerned about the weird goals that we've conceded, because I do think once Gabriel comes in and we're a little bit more locked in, we won't make those mistakes. The problem is not defensively. Our problem is still, and has been for the last 2 seasons, scoring goals from open play, creating chances, looking fluid, not looking like one of the worst attacking sides I've ever seen in my life. The dead left side, the lack of innovation in the attacking third, the lack of X factor, all of those things. That is our problem. We're going to concede goals, especially with the way that we play, because we have the ball all the time and we want to hold on to it for dear life. We're always going to be susceptible to the counterattack. But you can counteract that by scoring lots of goals and always being threatening. And we've come up against a mid or deep block in every single preseason game. Unfortunately, we have not played an open team. I think the most open a team has been against us in this preseason has been AC Milan, and we're still seeing the same problems. And I think the only encouraging thing, there's a couple of encouraging things. You need to sit down. There's a couple of encouraging things. One, I think that fans are starting to realize that it's not really the players, it's the manager. I think for a long time, you need to stop, honey. You need to stop. You need to sit. You need to come here. So it's not really the players, it's the manager, because the players continue to change and the problems continue to persist. Ever since we ended the 22-23 season, we have resumed an era under Mikel where it's not really clear whether or not we can score goals or not. I remember pre-22-23, that was a consistent conversation, the horseshoe of death, not being able to penetrate centrally, not being able to score enough goals. That was always a problem pre 22-23. Then 22-23 came around and we just clicked. We just clicked. And Mikel has struggled to replicate that level of fluidity, danger, threat, goal scoring creation, platforming players since then. We have had problems since then. We had a really good 23-24, but that's just half of a season. And we still had problems against like Aston Villa and Newcastle, where we still looked strange and not like we were going to score goals in games even during then. So now we went up full season. People gaslighted and said that it was just because we were missing players. But now our players are actually here and we look just as bad, if not worse. So I think at least there's clarity on, no matter how many players you switch out, if you don't platform your forwards properly and you don't play to their strengths and you don't play good attacking football where you are actually trying to score goals and you're not so scared to lose the ball that you're just passing it sideways and backwards, you are not going to win anything. Mikel looks stressed on that sideline, and he should. We have a really difficult start to the season. Your best defender is not fit. He may not be fit enough to start at Old Trafford. I don't think you even should risk it if he's not fit, because you don't want to lose him for the entire season. So that really stout, good defensive structure that you had last season may not be there. So if you can't rely upon your corners and set pieces and your defensive solidity, then you're going to really struggle, And so Arteta looks stressed, and he should be, because we could be in crisis talks within before September or mid-September. We really can, so I'm already prepared for it, because from my perspective, last season was not just about injuries. And I said that so many times, and people are starting to really get that Mikel can't coach an attack. I say that so clearly, and so it's just, he does not know how to coach a consistent, dangerous, threatening, fluid, fun attacking football. He has no concept of it. He is struggling to figure out a way to get this team scoring. And it's not about the players that we have. There are worse teams with worse sets of attackers that get more out of their attacking group than we do. That is a Mikel problem. That is not a talent problem. We have multiple players in our front line that don't look like themselves, and we're buying new players and nothing is changing. So I'm at least happy. You're not getting that onesie off. Stop that. I'm at least happy, silver lining, that people are actually getting to the point where they're just like, oh, maybe it's not the players. It's not. No, Martinelli's probably not good enough. No, Odegaard's not perfect. Kai is not the best striker. No, of course not. Those things are not perfect, but two things can be true at the same time. That, of course, you need to improve your attack. We should have been improving our attack every single window. Nobody goes multiple windows without improving their attack. But if your manager does not force your players to pass the ball to the striker that you just bought, it's on you. There were clear signs of that when Mikel first got here, when instead of playing Aubameyang in the striker, he played Lacazette there and shunted Aubameyang out to the wing. He made Aubameyang look like a bad striker at times. Arteta does not know how to platform his attackers properly. And as time goes on, it becomes more and more evident that he stumbled upon 22-23. It was a fluke, and now he cannot replicate it whatsoever. Those attackers have never looked the same. And unfortunately, like, we're backs against the wall. Today, probably the most concerning thing outside of the fact that we're playing the same football is the energy around the players is not great. Now, we're in preseason, so I expect poor touches and not to be fully fit, but I do not see an energy to go again. And we didn't see it last season either. We're flat. We're flat. We're flat. We are flat, 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 flat. Outside of the kids, outside of Dowman and Ethan, this team is flat. And Zubamendi, everything is just a flat line. There's nothing. I'm like, do they even want to play this style? I'm sure that they probably like, I guess if it was me, I would not be excited to play this style of football. So I'm projecting, but I do not see an Arsenal team that looks energized and renewed to play a new season. And that's concerning because more than just your physical fitness, you need to be locked in mentally. They don't look locked in. They don't look excited. They, once again, look like they're going to a funeral every single game. No smiles, no happiness, no nothing. And they're playing some of the worst football I've ever seen played at the Emirates. We talked about Emery ball was bad. This is creeping towards that level of, football. It's not as open and messy, but it's definitely shit, So I get it that, it is preseason and things won't be perfect. But if I told you that I was excited and or confident to play Man United on the first day of the season, I'd be lying, because I do think that we'll probably drop points. I think we'll drop points quite a bit. I think we're in for a doozy, so and I don't want to sit here and pretend like, I know some people are still doing it. They're still doing the gaslighting. It's just preseason. Why are you guys upset? Blah, blah, blah. But we are staring down the barrel of the type of season that we've kind of predicted over the last couple of seasons, where if we don't win now, other teams will get better, and then we're going to flatten, and then boom. And I feel like we're staring down the barrel of that. So, yeah, I don't know what's happened to our football, but Mikel is lost. I told my mom this on the way home from the hair salon. I was like, your manager is cooked and he's lost in the sauce and he needs to find his way out. Let's see what some of your guys' comments. Gyökeres looked dejected on the pitch because of the lack of passes to him. I mean, somebody put out like a fail comp of Gyökeres, because that's going to happen every single game now. But like, how rivals are, they're fucking weird. And so they put out a fail comp of him. And all I really saw was a player that every single time he got the ball, he made something happen. Whether it was successful or not was neither here nor there. He's not fit. He has had way less preseason than anybody else in our team. But at least when he got the ball, he beat a man. He took a shot. He made good runs. There was one run that he made, and MLS looked straight at him and then turned in the other direction. He is the type of player that is going to look dejected if he doesn't get the ball, because he did not come here to facilitate for other players and not get the ball. So Arteta needs to figure that shit out quicker rather than later. I thought the meltdown would not start before the season, but the way Arteta has placed himself, even preseason, is now scrutinized like a real game. It's all his fault. We've had enough. Hold on, let me let Beckham out because he's losing his fucking shit. What, Beckham? You're annoying. Nope. You don't get to go outside. Sorry. You have to stay. Oh my gosh. Remember when Benzema had the cone the other day? He doesn't have a cone. I got him like this little onesie thing, and he fucking hates it, and he's making my life miserable. See, I'm miserable, so you need to be miserable. I know. Can you just sit down? All right. Carlos's replacement, making them miserable. It's also funny how we only scored 2 goals from the game, 2 pens and an own goal in a corner. We've only scored 2 open play goals in this whole preseason, and we've conceded a lot of goals. We've conceded we've conceded at least 7 or 8 goals. So, and most of them have all pretty much been the same. We had an individual error / foul. Every other goal that we've conceded has been on the counterattack in the exact same way, sloppy defending, mostly from the left-hand side as well. So we have a little bit of a dilemma on the left-hand side as well. But I'm not surprised that we're not scoring goals freely. We have not scored freely since the end of 23-24. That is the last time that we were scoring goals freely, the last time. So, and nothing has changed, so if Mikel does not change, nothing will change. He is the biggest problem at the club right now. Stop blaming individual players. He's not getting the best out of any of his players. You bought £100 million player, doesn't know how to play him, has Odegaard playing deeper, he's not playing with a 10. It's just, Gyökeres never got the ball today. You would think he'd be screaming at the top of his lungs saying, get my striker the ball, but he's not doing that because he doesn't want to play with a real striker. I'm getting early Haaland vibes with Gyökeres in terms of how fans get onto him for not touching the ball a few touches, etc. I just pray he gets his first goal sooner rather than later. I mean, it was imperative that we got Gyökeres in and got him integrated and scoring early. But Arteta's not concerned about getting Gyökeres going. He's concerned about playing his stiff way of football, and he seems very consistent with wanting to have a Havertz or Marino up front because he couldn't wait to get Gyökeres out of there. As soon as Zubamendi and Odegaard came on, he took Gyökeres off and was like, yeah, Marino up front. Arteta has never played with a real striker, and you can tell. So Gyökeres is going to struggle unless Arteta buys into Gyökeres as the most important player in this team. When Pep first got Haaland, he did have to change things around, but he tinkered and tinkered and tinkered until he got him going. And of course, they played a completely different way, but they had to change their way of play in order to suit Haaland. Arteta's not going to do that. He's fucking hard-headed. He just seems so lost. The guy is just lost. Saka is a system player. Our wingers can't create outside of the system. Saka wasn't like this before Mikel, though. I feel like everybody's become more rigid, more unable to think outside the system because they've played in this systematic way for 3 years now. Saka, when he first started playing on the wing, was much more flair, much more free, used to come inside, go outside, used to beat his man. He did not look good today. He looked pretty poor, but I find it really difficult to just blame Saka because he looks like he's at the beginning stages of what Martinelli and Odegaard have gone through, which is the beginning stages of Arteta fatigue. It's over. Odegaard, Zubamendi, and Rice still not getting the game time they need, which is all an Arteta problem. He does not seem desperate to get his first choice midfield going. Arsenal lost 2-3 in one game, while Liverpool wins 7-3 in 2 games inside of one day. They're just a much better team than us. They have a better coach. Hold on real quick, you guys. Give me 2 seconds. Don't go anywhere. I don't know why this dog is losing his mind, but give me 2 seconds, okay? Sorry. It's just crazy in here right now. And did you heal yourself? Jesus Christ. All right. Sorry. I had to run outside. It's hot. So many things going on. It's baffling to me how Martinelli is still at our club. Arteta needs to stop being stubborn and switch to a 4-2-3-1 with Rice and Zubi in a double pivot. I would say that with the left-hand side looking as holy as it does in this preseason, I want to say most of the goals that we conceded came off of the left-hand side, outside of the Richarlison foul on Myles. We're going to get to Myles in a second, by the way, because he looks really bad. But I'm trying to think. The goal that Newcastle scored, did both of them come from that side? I think they did. I know one for sure came from that side, and it was really sloppy. Both goals today, I think, came from that side, if not all three. The left-hand side is a problem attacking-wise and defensively, but you have the best defensive midfielder, a defensive, like elite defensive-minded midfielder that you bought for 100 million pounds. You would think that Mikel would utilize him in a deeper role so that when we do lose the ball, he can win the ball back for us. That's what you would think. That's what you would think. But he doesn't. He plays them so high up, and once they lose the ball on that side, it's like they just pass it into space and they're wide open. And so, I think the double pivot idea, although like I don't really care if it's a 4-2-3-1 or what. I just think Declan needs to be in a deeper position, starting from a deeper position, closer to Zubamendi, and the 10 can be free, whether that's Odegaard, whether that's Ethan, and our whole way of life is punching the ball into the feet of Gyökeres or the 10 and trying to get in between the lines so that we can move these people around, hit it wide, and then hit it inside. But we don't do any of that. It's just very like, I don't know what Arteta's brain is doing, but it's weird, but Rice, you would think you'd utilize one of the best defensive midfielders in world football in a position where he can be really useful to us defensively, and that would be the perfect space for him to plug that gap because teams are starting to see that our left-hand side is wide open, and it's usually open. Almost every single year that we've played under Mikel, the left-hand side has been significantly more open, and it's rare that we get beat on the right, but we're getting whooped like nobody's business. Our asses are getting whooped on that left-hand side, but you literally have Rice there, so why don't you use him there? Now, with the Myles Lewis-Skelly, what I'll say about Myles is this is not about his talent level. This is not about him not being good. You guys know I am waving the flag of the Myles Lewis-Skelly fan club. That being said, he is in danger of being overplayed. And I think you're seeing a player that maybe he hasn't fully recovered from last season. He doesn't look fit. He's not sharp, but he's never going to have the opportunity to get fresh and or sharp because everybody that plays on that side is a crock. Everybody that plays on that side is a literal crock. Like, it's so dark that Calafiori is injured already. And the next person up is a mentally not here, Zinchenko. Zinchenko is not even here with us. Like, he is somewhere else. Like, he's not even really into it. So with Myles, it's not that he looks bad because he's a bad player. I just think he's being overplayed as a young player. He played so many more minutes than Ethan. And even Ethan at a certain point, like kind of, had like his little stutter. MLS had a phenomenal first season, but he probably just needs a little bit less time in the spotlight. He's still really young. And what he's starting to look like is a player that gets the ball and then like he just forgets what the next action is supposed to be. And then if he does do the right action, it doesn't come off clean. So yeah, he's doing this running into crowd scenes and then try to buy the foul, which is cool, but I'd rather him dish it out to somebody or find a ball in between the lines because it's not like we get anything out of these free kicks anyway. We just kick it to the goalkeeper, do a terrible cross, or do a short, routine that doesn't do anything. So Myles also suffers from playing on the bad side too. So it's rough for Myles right now. I'm really concerned that we're going to ruin him because an 18-year-old, no matter how good you are, he was rushed into the team because of these exact players not being fit, and they're not fit again. They're not fit again. So maybe, I would consider maybe if both White and Timber are fit to play Timber on the left and allow Myles to rest a little bit. I know Timber is not the cleanest on the left-hand side, but ultimately you can't rely upon Calafiori or Zinchenko really, and Kivior should never be an option at left back, but you're in danger of burning MLS out, and we can't afford that. We don't have enough good players with that level of technical ability. We don't have that, so Myles is obviously going to get quite a bit of conversation around him. He has a lot of eyes on him. People want him to fail. But I think as Arsenal fans, we need to be careful about, is he playing poorly? Is he a bad player? Or is he maybe not being rested enough or rotated enough or being brought out of the spotlight? Is he being protected? And he's not at all, so I am concerned for Myles because he hasn't looked good in this preseason, not sharp, not fit at all, but he's going to end up starting those first couple of games. So what do we do now? If Timber's fit, I'm using him on the left and bringing Myles out, allowing him to grow into the season and not be put in a position where he makes a couple of really big mistakes or, gets an injury or something. And then we're like, fuck, because if he gets injured or mentally he's, maybe a little bit because he's made a couple of mistakes, it's almost like you lose a player. So yeah, MLS is a really, really, really good player. So I want people to hear that, because when I say that he hasn't looked good, I'm not saying he's not a good player, which is, those are two completely different things. Anthony says MLS needs to be in midfield. Social Join says, I was at the Emirates today. You can change the whole squad. The issues remain. It's a coaching issue. Zachary says, are we giving Saka another game before noting he is not looking sharp either? I mean, he's not looking sharp. So, I won't sit here and lie. I've seen people say Saka looks ready to go, and I'm like, not really. He doesn't. But I think we assume that Saka at some stage will get up to speed. But what if he doesn't? And are we prepared for a season if Saka has a poor one? Are we? I don't think so. So yeah, MLS is not a left back, period. He's out of position. It's like playing party at right back. He can do the job, but we're hindering one position for the sake of covering another position. And that's another conversation that we've been having over the last couple of maybe 48 hours, is how many square pegs and round holes do we have? How many players do we actually think are playing their right position and in the right way? I think you can probably count on one hand the amount of players that are just playing their position. We have so many, when I think Mascara came on and was playing right back or some shit. The amount of fullbacks that are center backs, the amount of, midfielder that's playing left back that's inverted. You have Declan Rice, who I think is probably the biggest kind of conundrum, not because he's not a good player, but because he's being used in a way that doesn't suit him. We have no creativity because our right center mid has to help with build up. Center forward is just a statue. Left wing, what are they meant to do? And Arteta's changed the entire squad. So unless we're saying that he's bought a bunch of the wrong players, I think it needs to be looked at a little bit more from him. And, is he getting the best out of these players or not? Because I don't think he is. I'm going to be very honest. I think no matter who you bring in, you're going to see the same problems. And I think if another manager comes in, he could fix things. I think he'd take MLS out of left back, put him at left center mid. Rice would be playing in a different position. We'd play with a regular 10. We'd play one touch, two touch football. I just think Arteta's just overthinking everything too much. Like Theo was saying, galaxy brain footy from a first-time manager. People need to open their eyes. At this point, this squad has the potential to win Champions League. It's just the guy in charge as thinking capacity of a Lego. Just swap Zubi and Rice, for goodness sake. I don't see what's complicated. Eze is not going to solve our issue. We need a new manager. Nobody's going to solve. You can bring in players that help with better skills than the players that they're replacing. So if you were to bring in, let's say you were to bring in Leao or whoever you like at left wing and replace Martinelli, you're going to probably get marginal better results, but there's still going to be a percentage that you can't unlock because the manager is still holding those players back. And I think from everybody from the DM forward is being held back in some sort of way because they're not being utilized in the right ways. And as an attacker, I know you want to have a little bit of fun. You want to move. You want to take shots. You want to take men on. You want to play fluid, good football. If you come to Arsenal, you want to play good football. Nobody looks at Arsenal and thinks Stoke. They think arson, free-flowing football, whatever. We may not be able to defend, but we know how to play good football. This is I don't know what the fuck this is, but this is not Arsenal. I was at the clock in. Villareal scored on their first attack. It was like 5 passes. We had 1,000 touches in attack and still had no shots on goal. Let's see. The fucking long throws. Yeah, the heavy emphasis on corners, free kicks, and throw-ins needs to go away. We are finishing somewhere between 4th and 6th. It doesn't matter who we sign either. It's going to get toxic. We all know the ownership isn't going to act fast and replace Arteta at the right time. And it's only going to get toxic because he's probably 1 or 2 seasons beyond his sell-by date. I think, after maybe he didn't win and finish 2 points, away from City, we should have been looking at a new manager anyway. You need to strike while the iron is hot and to move on when it's not too obvious, because once it's obvious, it's gotten really, really bad. And, now he's become a villain. There was a way to spin it 2 years ago where he's gotten us from 8th, not finishing in Champions League. Now we're a consistent Champions League team, but now we need the guy that's gonna could get us over the line. Now they've made it where they've doubled down and gotten into bed with him so badly that when he does leave, it's going to be so bad. It may take players leaving. It may take finishing 8th. It may take a lot, but it's going to get dark this season. I do not see a scenario in which we meet our goals based on what I've seen last season and this season, because nothing has changed, and it's mostly because of the manager. I think another manager could come in right now, rid ourselves of all this galaxy brain, gobbledygook, inversion, non-football, throw-in nonsense, and just have us playing quick 1-2 touch football, play it into Gyökeres, play quickly, and boom. Boom. But right now, Arteta doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. If we lose to United, it's going to get toxic. I don't see a world where we do not drop points to them right now. I'm done with the doom and gloom now. Wait and see our strongest team before you crucify us. Yeah, the game wasn't good enough, but if you're having a meltdown after that game, you need weekly therapy. Come back, Arthur, after the United game, and let's have a conversation, because this all is well and good and fine telling people that they need therapy and mental help if they're upset about this game because it wasn't our best 11 and all that. But you guys have been saying this for years. You've been saying this for years. It's just preseason. It's just the first game. It's just halfway through the season. It's just this. Oh, we had all these injuries. Oh my God. Saliba was injured, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it doesn't matter. We have next season. We just need a striker. We just need this. We haven't gone to any finals since the FA Cup. We haven't won anything. So this is just nothing to me. This is just the typical gaslighting where most fans are at least a little bit concerned about what they're seeing because it's not about the result. It's about the performance. We did see some of our better players. They don't look fit. They don't look sharp. We don't look like we've innovated anything in attack. We're not scoring goals freely. And guess what? Our rivals are. So this is all just, the same old nonsense. Same old nonsense. Let's see, internal solutions, these fans giving Groundhog's Day. It's just dark. Like, I don't know how many years we have to go through this before that side of the fan base just says, you know what, maybe I was wrong. There was a period of time where, especially right after we first challenged, that I thought, okay, maybe Mikel is the guy. And I was fully behind it. But the red flags started to pile up after that. The style of play that we started off with, buying Kai Havertz, not being able to score goals instead of, outside of corner kicks and shit like that. And I still hear people acting like this is after the first year that we challenged. We're like 3 years on from that. Come on. Like, I get that we have to see all of our players together, but we saw almost all of our players together except for Zubimendi against Spurs and everybody who's probably going to start, and we look like shit. So I don't want to hear it. Let's see. The game at Man U is looking dark. It's going to be, especially because almost every single one of our rivals is in a much, it's crazy that United finished in 15th, but the energy and the excitement around their club and their fans is much different than ours. And that doesn't make sense to me. A team that's finished second all these years, and if it's so positive, why is a team that's finished 15th and is outside of all European competition, why are they more confident and excited about the new season than we are? It's because we know shit is dark. We know it. We are not just saying things because we want to be negative. We're playing shit. I watch Arsenal. I feel that's what I don't understand the gaslighting at this stage. Like, I know it's hard to just be like, maybe he's not the guy, or, maybe the project hasn't, maybe hit the heights that it was supposed to. But I feel like the faster that you get to that conclusion, the quicker we can get to the next stage. I don't want to lose all these players before we actually win something. And that's where we're going. We're going into, we'll lose these players and not get to see this team win stuff because we have to give Mikel time because, it's just so-and-so. It's just so-and-so. The whole team has changed. The whole team has changed. Grass is greener on the other side type of comment. Because you people are more than them. That's your problem. I am not. In answer to your question, is because we are suffering from project fatigue syndrome. United have spent more than us in this window as well. All that rubbish about unprecedented summer from KSC, fans fell for it. Well, also, they just did not do the things that they were supposed to do in attack. And as much as, Arteta needs to change things, they promised a left wing. They talked about a left wing and they did not bring a left wing in. Now, I don't really Nani didn't get enough time. Like, Nani didn't get enough time today. I think Arteta should have given him a full half. Running Martinelli for 70 minutes was pretty much diabolical in my book. I was like, why is he still out there? But he only gave him like 10 minutes or so. So, and to be honest, until Arteta fixes the way that the left-hand side works, I think almost everybody over there is going to look suboptimal. They're going to be in positions where they just don't look right and it looks strange, But they said left wing and we did not get a left wing. And I know they're still pretending like if we get certain sales that they're going to get one, but they're not. Man United is going to clap us so badly and they're getting a midfield. Then the moment we get Eze, it's going to flip. Madueke is not a left winger. He won't get better there. Stop listening to tactical bar chart readers. Is Eze going to come through? Probably not. Gaslighting 1v1. Just they're telling us now Timber and Gabriel didn't play when the manager took our striker and brought in Odegaard. Speaking of body language, Arteta looks nervous and lost at halftime. Yo, they kept panning to Mikel, and I laughed every single time because I was like, he looks worried, and he should be. He sat on the bench and was drinking the water, and he looked just like Pep when Pep doesn't know what to do. And I'm like, you're in preseason. Even if KSC didn't give you absolutely everything that you wanted, you pushed for certain signings. You got 200 million worth of new signings in this summer, and we look worse than we did at the back end of last season. So it's on you. Like, he doesn't have the answers. He does not know how to reel back this style of play. And it just looks like we're walking towards the inevitability, but his demise is coming. Yeah, he looked just like Pep. He knows he's cooked. This highlight of the game was seeing Arteta worried. I mean, we should be relaxed and seeing things click together in preseason. It should not be crisis talks already. It really should not be like this, but that's what happens when the manager doesn't change anything. I don't know if he has the capacity. I think the thing that frustrates me the most is that when things were working, he figured out a way to fuck those things up. But now that things aren't working, he can't figure out a way to change those. And I'm not quite sure why that is. You had the winning formula for the attack in 22-23, and you just had to maintain those principles. It didn't have to be the exact same players all the time, or, it didn't mean that we couldn't tighten up at the back, but you had the perfect principles to have a dangerous, fluid, and threatening attack no matter what. And because there was never a time where we played in that season where I didn't think we would score. Not a time. I know there's probably like once or twice maybe we didn't score, but for the most part, I thought we were going to score. You figured out a way to derail that by bringing in Kai, and it's not even just about bringing in Kai. You change the way that we play, and then you doubled down on it again. Then you had a winning formula at the back end of 23-24, where Rice was playing deeper, Jorginho was playing the 6, and Odegaard had a free roll. Found out a way to cock that up. Why is it that? Oh, sorry, I see your super chat. I'm going to get to it after I just finished this thought, but I don't know why you can't get rid of the things that you fuck up and bring back the things that were good. Why is it the things that are good, you seem to be able to derail those? Can somebody riddle me that? Like, I don't get it. Brian, thank you so much for your super chat. I do really appreciate it. Says, Jess, I'm done crashing out about this team. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, becoming a top gooner, going down with the ship, Arteta forever. Like, I hear it. I mean, to get through this season, I'm telling you right now, you're going to need an outlet. You're going to need new hobbies. You're going to need to either convince yourself that it's not happening or just have other things to do. Like, I'm so happy that I'm going to Hawaii in a couple of days with my family, because now I get to pretend like that next game is not happening. Like, that next game I'm not looking forward to it at all. Like, before this game, I was nervous because I was like, damn, are we going to play like shit? And then I was like, I should not be worried in preseason. This is Mikel. Mikel has Artetified this club so much that preseason games feel heavy now. This is not me. Like, no. I'm going to Hawaii. I'm enjoying my time. You guys are going to play like shit against Bilbao. Already know it. Whatever. Like, next week we'll be there when it's 3-1 versus the Arsenal. In short, be delusional for the season. Exactly. Be delusional, have a hobby, whatever, because this is the season. I think they predicted it to be last season, but other teams were still really bad. It's this season. This is the one. If Arteta just stepped down after 23-24 season, he would be seen as a valuable potential manager. The longer now that he stays, the more likely he will never get another top job in management. Whatever the quote is where it says you stay long enough to see yourself become a villain, that's basically what's happening with Mikel. And this is a long-standing thing with our Arsenal, where they keep somebody too long. They keep players too long. They keep managers too long. They let things fester too long so that it gets ugly before they make changes. They should have moved on from Mikel already. And not because he hasn't done a good job, but because he's showing signs of somebody that's not able to get us over the line. It kind of shouldn't have ever been okay or good enough to not go to any finals or not to win anything in the last couple of years. But they just think they have like a God-given right to win trophies because they're doing all the right things and they're waiting and being patient. We're not going to win anything. Everybody else around us has won something more recently than we have, but we've had the longest project. That should tell you everything you need to know. It's just, I don't get it. I don't even know what I watched today. Like, I genuinely I don't like when I watch games with Arsenal and I don't remember chances or anything. I just remember a bunch of sideways passing, a bunch of slow, everybody taking 4 or 5 touches before they kick the ball. And then once they pass it, it's like either behind somebody or too long or whatever. I remember the Villareal players just kind of dribbling past our midfielders every time they got it. They would get right past Marino, right past so-and-so, boom. They're just they look like they're going to score every single time they got past us. I do, like, in the last couple of games have felt like that. Like, I can remember every single thing that happened in the preseason of 22-23. Everything. All the goals, everything. I remember exactly what happened. I remember, like, a lot of the summer after. I don't remember anything that happened in this preseason because we didn't do anything. We didn't create any chances, we didn't score any goals. Sorry, we watched the same horseshoe Arteta ball tactics, sideways, cross, cut back. I just know Nico Williams is going to cook us, and he was dog shit against Liverpool, but he'll turn up against us. Let's see, big up Jess, comma, we got hindsight, he's going to change our lives. We need a attacking coach. We need an attacking coach badly. We need somebody who, like, they need to take a 2-week crash course with Arsene on how to just attack normally without they're thinking too hard. I've never seen a team at Arsenal in my lifetime. I started watching in like 2002. I have never seen an Arsenal team, whether it was Arsene, um, Unai, either one of those coaches before Mikel, that where we did not score goals. Even under Unai, we did not ever really look like we weren't going to score. Did we concede a lot of shots? Yes. We had no control over the game, but we always looked like we were going to score. But under Mikel, we've had at least 3 seasons where we question why we don't look like we're going to score. I can't live this way because the thing about football is there's so little actions that you only really look forward to these goals, and if you're not scoring them and you're not creating chances, it's really hard to watch because winning is hard. And I think if at the very least you're playing good football, it's not going to satisfy the lack of trophies, but at least you're enjoying yourself in the moment. We're not even enjoying ourselves. Like, we're miserable. Like, it's crazy. um Remember how expressive Wanieri used to be? Now he's rigid and dull. I'm afraid Max will be the same. Saka is overloaded with defensive tasks. This manager is ruining our talents. Somebody said something about Ethan as well. Where are the Wanieri choir boys hiding? And somebody else said, I think this is supposed to be Wanieri is also shit. Big reason why we look like that. He won't start against United. It's got to be a lot better. I just think a couple of things are happening with Ethan. I think as much as people have deluded themselves into thinking that he's going to be a better option than Odegaard, he's not. The only time that we created chances was when Odegaard and Dowman were playing on the right-hand side and they were connecting. That's the only time we ever opened up Villareal. Ethan would get the ball, try to do a move, the ball would get cut out. It just is what it is with him. But right now, he's a good young player that really is in a moment where I think he needs to be coached by somebody who kind of knows how to coach flair players and players that don't fit within a rigid system. And he's working under probably the worst possible manager for that. So, I think with him and Max, because they're flair driven and they're individuals and stuff like that, it's really kind of scary if Mikel keeps coaching them because he's going to put them in the system where, Dowman is going to play right wing. So he's just going to get the Saka treatment, triple team, quadruple team, get the ball, cross it across. Ethan is going to play the Odegaard position. That position has been stripped down to get the ball, dribble, pass it out to the right wing. I mean, I don't really think Ethan has done much wrong in this preseason. I think he looked the best in the first game. And as time has gone on, he's kind of tailed off. But, I'm starting not to look so much at the players as much. And I'm like, is Arteta getting the most out of these players, or are they just not good enough? Because just a couple of days ago, people were really interested. Like, they love Ethan. Now is Ethan even that good? Like, come on. Of course he's good. He's playing under a manager that's just incredibly rigid. Just get James from AFTV as the attacking offensive coach. We need to play Saka left wing and Dowman on the right with Glock up top. And that's our best front three. Marsh, I would love to see that. And in fact, in preseason, I would have loved to see a lot more different combinations in midfield and in attack to see if, with our internal solutions, if we could get us some different looks, but we didn't try shit. We tried the same things over and over again, and we're getting the same results. So, we could have tried, Saka on the left and Dowman on the right. We could have tried, Ethan right center mid and Odegaard left center mid. We could have tried Odegaard left center mid and Rice right center mid. We could have tried so many different things. There's so many different variations that we could utilize with this group, but we see the same things over and over again. So, or Myles in midfield. There's so many things that we have not tried, and maybe they've tried them in training, but I think Arteta is pretty much like set in whatever he thinks, and we're just kind of locked in until he goes. I don't see much changing until he goes. I really don't, because if he was not alarmed by what happened last season, then I don't know, because if I was him after last season when we only scored like 70 goals, we never really looked like scoring. We really struggled. Even with Odegaard and Saka was there, we never looked like scoring. We were really struggling. I would have thrown everything away and started over in preseason. Started all the way over. Different ethos, different way. But he's doubled down. So, yeah, the manager doesn't look at things that happen like maybe I should continue to do this. Well, he continues with the bad and throws away the good, which I've never seen anybody do anything. Like I do not understand. I don't understand him. Like I don't get him. He's not somebody that I get. I don't. It is probably becoming the worst case scenario. Like it doesn't matter who's the striker, Marino, Havertz, Gyökeres, Sesko. His system overrules the game. Bournemouth away last season was a sign. Arteta is the most stubborn manager in world football. Nothing changes. He'll double down on what he wants to do. Arteta is the guy who DMs the girl with all the talk, but when they're out, he's hiding behind the bar. Yeah, he's going to stay long enough to see himself become a villain. That's for sure. Where I stand with Mikel, because I know people keep asking me if I'm Arteta in or Arteta out. I'm just, I would have moved on from him after the 23-24 season. I was very much so done like with what we were doing then. I know that we had ended the season well, but I thought we still didn't get to any finals. We still didn't win. So, is this a time to like just switch? We stayed another season. This summer, I would have moved him on as well, because it wasn't just the injuries. We genuinely weren't good last season at all. And because everybody else was bad, we finished second. We did not finish second because we were good. We finished second because everybody else was bad. Given another week, we would have finished fourth. So, yeah, I think, with Mikel, I'm just finding it really difficult to get on side. I love the players, and I actually advocate for the players a lot more because I think they get kind of shat on. Some of them are not good enough. Some of them do have limitations. I understand that. Martinelli is one of them for me. But I just do not think that this is the best this group can play. And I think they are well below the level that they are capable of. And I would love to see them with a different manager if this season goes the way that I think it's going to go. If we just happen to be super good and I have to eat my words, fair enough. But if it ends up being the season that I'm predicting it to be, I just want to see these players with someone else that plays good attacking football, cares about attacking principles, knows how to get the best out of his attackers, is not afraid to improve his attack, that likes flair players, that wants to play the Arsenal way, but, we'll look at this defensive bedrock that he has and be like, hey, maybe I can open up a little bit more because I have Gabriel back here. I have Timber. I have Mascara, who is actually really good today and is a great pickup, So, yeah, I think, I still want to see this group with someone else. I really do. I think seeing them only with Mikel is giving him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm very, skeptical about this idea that these players are just not good enough and they can't do better. But maybe they can't. But the only way that we'll know that is with a new manager, so I'd like to see somebody a little bit different. But yeah, Anthony Williams says Arteta should have gone 22-23. Chelsea would have sacked him and won the Premier League the next season. Arsenal fans are still hoping he does something 3 years later. I don't really know how, a lot of them have stayed kind of like true to him, because I feel like your opinion of him should have changed by now, at least a little bit of maybe at least questioning whether he's the guy. But some people are just so deep in it with him that they think he's the guy, and that's it. Conrad, thank you so much for your super chat. Says Arteta coaches like we are Everton, long throws, playing for corners, center backs playing as fullbacks, tons of crosses, defending 1-goal leads. And I can't disagree with anything this super chat says whatsoever. It's been a long time since we've played like a team that is dominant and confident and knows they're going to win. We see it here and there now, like when we played against Real Madrid, but ultimately when we would play in the Premier League, we couldn't beat Bournemouth, so and I think in most situations we would say that the mentality, the principles of play, the mentality, all those types of things, attitude comes from the manager. But when it's Arteta, it doesn't come from him. It's just something in the air. But he's scared, and we play like a scared team. We don't play aggressive. We don't look like a team that's, we know what we look like when we are confident, and we don't look like that. So yeah, I'm tired of the corners and shit. I'm really tired of the corners. I really am. Even fucking Man United are having a better window now if they get Baliba. I'm so tired of the who's better out there excuse. Did anyone think manager from the Dutch league would do better than Klopp? There are managers out there. When we waste time at the 20th minute, when we are 1 goal up, always makes me sick. We'll see this season when the real task comes, but right now it just looks stale. And the only thing I would say, Dave, is I don't think I'd be as concerned if I saw Arteta see a problem and address it instantly. But when you're going on your 3rd season with a broken left half space, when you're going into your 3rd season with wingers looking like they're not able to have ideas outside of just playing for corners, when you're still getting these 65% and you're passing around in the horseshoe and you get done on the counterattack. And this has kind of been our story, deja vu. That's where I kind of get I can't buy into the, oh, well, it's just preseason, because we know Mikel is not quick to make changes. He looked so that's the first time in a long time I've seen Mikel look. He didn't have the energy. Mikel is a very energetic person on the sideline. He's somebody that always looks like he's up for it. He's always pushing for it. This is one of the first times I've seen him that he also looked flat. And it could just be the case that he's not able to figure out the solution. Maybe he thinks this is the way forward, but it's not working. So he's just lost. But he genuinely needs to throw it all out and start over. He needs to focus on Gyökeres and say, this is my striker. We have invested a lot of time and money into this player. We spent almost the entire window chasing this guy. He's done everything in his power to make it such that he's gotten to Arsenal. I at least owe it to him and the club to build my attacking idea around getting the most out of this player and do it soon. It should have happened the first day, that, you knew you were going to get a striker. Even without Gyökeres there, we should have been changing our way of play. Not doing it. He's not doing it, And I wonder if it's just the case that he thinks that, he that he's going to be able to plug and play, but he still wants to play this way. But you can't do that with Gyökeres. You need to play to him. And most teams do that. When they have a number 9 that's a big personality that they're going to bank on scoring a lot of your goals, that person becomes the most important person in your front line. So everything that we do is built around opening up opportunities for that guy. but my alarm bells were going today when he wasn't even touching the ball. Oh, and Mikel wasn't even going crazy on the sideline saying, give him the ball, because that's all I would have been saying. Give him the ball. I don't care if he loses it. I don't give a fuck if he loses it. I don't care if he misses the shot. I don't care if it goes wide. I want him to get the ball every single time we get down the pitch, and I want him taking a shot. No, still giving the ball to Martinelli, still playing for corners, still, giving it to Saka and playing Saka FC. I'm lost. I think if we're not in the top 3 by November, he might be gone. Arteta needs to evolve or go. I wouldn't mind it. If we're looking like we're struggling, cut the cord. Exactly why Arteta didn't want him. I think Arteta will sit out his contract and then leave. Doesn't matter whose fault it is. This is the last we can afford with Arteta. Discussions are useless. We should just discuss what can be changed from game to game to become better. I believe Arteta will sit out his contract and leave. I read that exactly. Just the fact that our most exciting players are 15 and 18, Ethan and Max, is an indication of how poor our attack is. And I think because they haven't been, they're not fatigued yet. I just see a frustration, a flatness, and a lack of excitement around what we're doing in the attacking area. Nobody has a light in their eyes. And I know that not everything can be like it was in the 2022-2023 season. I get that. I get that we had to evolve ever so slightly. I understand. The past is the past. But when you have that as an earmark of what those players look like when they're playing at the peak of their powers, when you compare it, it's not just the touches and the goals. It's just their whole body language and the way that they're looking. They do not look excited to go into this next season. And they should be, because it's another opportunity to win trophies for Arsenal Football Club, and they don't look up for it. And I just wonder if a change of manager, which now we're going into the season, it should have happened in the summer. We should have a new manager, whatever. But a change of manager would give them something to look forward to, because it's like you burst the bubble, the pressure is still there, but you release the pressure of this project, and then you can start anew. And I think these players kind of need that, because there's no clear break in between last season and this season at all. Let's keep going. It feels like they don't want to play for him anymore. I know that it's projection and it's body language reading, and that can be dangerous, but we know what these players, what Saka and Odegaard and Martinelli in particular, because they've been here for a long time, right? We've seen Martinelli for 5 seasons. We've seen Saka for 5 seasons. We've seen Odegaard for 4 seasons. We know what these players look like when they are into it and they are on it. We know it. They don't look like that. They don't look like that. And that scares me, especially because now I've added Saka to that group. Saka is the player that usually adds the spark, even if the other players are flat. If he's flat, I don't know what we're going to look like. Hypothetically speaking, if you believe Slot, Pep, Maresca, and Eddie Howe can get the best out of his existing squad, if the answer is yes, then Mikel is not the guy. Hypothetically speaking, if you believe Slot, Pep, Maresca, and Eddie Howe can get the best out of this existing squad, if the answer is yes, then Mikel is not the guy. I mean, I do think there's another manager out there. I don't know the name because I don't know exactly the person, but hypothetically speaking, if we brought in, say we got Luis Enrique in, we won't, but let's say we did. I just think that at the very least, he would play differently in the attacking third. I think, hypothetically speaking, we wouldn't see so much inversion and square pegs and round holes. Hypothetically speaking, we would see, maybe Martinelli closer to goal. Hypothetically speaking, we maybe see Declan more in a deeper position. I just think that there's a lot of managers that are doing things very simply, and the way that Pep convoluted the game with City is going out of style. Nobody plays that way anymore. Slot doesn't play that way. Luis Enrique, Flick, none of them play that way. They just play good, simple attacking football where they have X factor and elite talent in the attacking third. They find ways to get those players into those positions fast and consistently and a lot, and they score lots of goals. It's just that simple. But hypothetically speaking, I do think there's a manager that could simplify our game, and I feel like that's just mostly what we need is simplification. Noni was not needed. The first six could be the end. The first six could be the end. Thank you so much for your super chat. I saw another one. Al Nasir just submitted a bid for Nelly, 48 million. No, they didn't. Why are you making me even look? Because I know it's not true. Because I would jump for joy if that was true, but you know it's not true. So Keenan, I don't know why you lying. I don't even know why you're doing this up right now. You know, I'm seeing fucking Nagelsmann cries. I love Dalman. He was really good. Yeah, I don't see anything about that. I don't know why you're making me look. That's not very nice, Keenan. Don't do that. Let's see. You got me happy for a bit. When Arteta just arrived, it was all about simple rondos. Now it's data and back post corners. He's evolved to like the most anti-Spanish manager. Do you not want Nagelsmann just? It's not that I don't want him. I'm just saying that I would start thinking about who when I know he's gone, but I don't know how long it's going to be before we get to that stage. So yeah, I think I would take any top manager really like that plays good attacking football. That's it. You know, I don't really ask for much. I just want to see goals, and I don't want to feel like it's pulling teeth to score a goal at home against Villareal when they didn't even play that well. Get me any good attacking manager and I'll be happy. Would you guys be happy with Ange? Like, what if Ange was available? You take an Ange? I mean, the fuck. Let's see. Nagelsmann was my first choice before Arteta, but well, like honestly, maybe this is just me because I just love him to death, but there you need to lay down. There is a part of me that would take Cesc. Like there is a part of me that would take Cesc. I'm not gonna lie. I would take him before he ended up at a rival. You know, I just think he would never allow this level of football to take place at the carpet. I just feel like I want somebody in a press conference to ask Mikel, like, do you think that this football is good enough to win you anything? Do you not understand that the fans are concerned about the style and it's not anything reminiscent of the Arsenal way? Do you not think that if you're not winning, you should at least be playing good football? Like, why aren't they asking the real questions? You know, because I want to know, do you like this shit? Like, are you enjoying it? Because I'm not. Like, you know, I'm like, you can't be liking this. Arteta actually came to Arsenal, oddly enough. I was talking to my friend about this yesterday. He came into an era of Arsenal where Arteta had, not Arteta, Arsene had started to obsess over Pep's Barcelona and wanted to replicate that in England by bringing in, he went really small because, you know, when we were at Highbury, we were much bigger, much more athletic, very direct. We had technical players, but once we got to the Emirates and about 2009, Arsene started bringing in players like Rosicky, Kleb, Cesc became more prominent in the team. You know, you had these little kind of like technicians, and Arteta came in like 2011 or some shit like that, didn't he? So he came right after we lost 8-2. So it's just odd to me that you can come in under Arsene at that time and and none of it rubbed off on you. None of it rubbed off on you. Nothing. Crazy. No Galaxy brain coaches says Como plays better than this. Arteta was a mid player and he's a mid coach. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's I mean, but the thing is you don't have to be a good player to be a good coach. Some of the best coaches were shit players. They weren't necessarily like, not everybody was like Zinedine Zidane and Ancelotti and guys like that. Arteta is a rigid and strange coach because that's just who he is. But I will always go back to his initial interview when he first got the job, and he spoke about what he wanted his version of Arsenal to be. And he only had that version of Arsenal for one season. He was talking about aggressive attacking principles, always having the ball, scoring lots of goals, playing good football, putting smiles on the fans' faces, all that kind of stuff. He was talking about bringing back the energy and the vibes, and he did that for one season and then derailed it because we lost 4-1 to Man City. Bruh. Dave, we have a good team, but no cohesion and concreteness. Arsenal, Arschlock, mid-player, mid-coach. Villareal proving football still slays these kick and chase morons. Glasner would transform this team for the better. I mean, I would take, like I said, any good coach, really, that, plays good attacking football at this stage to reset, because I think there's enough talent in the team. Like, if you were to give, let's say Glasner or, a coach like that, if you were to give a coach this level of talent and apply their principles, we would perform well. Like, we have a lot of talent in this team, but you don't get anywhere near any of it out of that, especially that attacking group, because you're playing weird football. Anthony Williams says we simply have to wait for Barca to sack Hansi Flick and get him in. He's the only option. It's always Arsenal's fault. Should have gone sooner. We wouldn't have Arteta as a coach. Arteta isn't good enough for Arsenal and what its legacy. I think, because obviously after this, I want to watch and see what other people were saying. Maybe people that are a little bit more on the positive side and see what they're saying, because I just wonder if people are starting to see, at the very least, that maybe it's not just as easy as buying layout and everything just falls into place. It's not just as easy as buying Eze and everything falls into place, because it's not even like he's getting the most out of the group that he has. Last thing I did kind of want to touch on as well is just, just some things that had stood out to me in this game from a personal player standpoint. Because we'd already kind of touched on, like, Ethan Dowman was fantastic, like he always is. So, we kind of spoke about Saka not looking at his best. Martinelli is Martinelli. No use in beating the dead horse. Gyökeres, actually, I thought every single time that he got the ball, when he did get it, he tried to do something with it. He tried to get a shot off. He was making good runs, just people were ignoring him, and he wasn't getting the ball enough. And he's definitely not fit. But like, I think the other player that's standing out to me that hasn't had a great preseason has been Rice. I'm wondering if he's carrying a little bit of something, because remember, he didn't go to Spain. He stayed in England doing an individual training program before we went to Asia. And I have to say that out of our main good players that usually are standouts, I would say that his performances have probably been the most disappointing, because I can't remember a single thing that he did. And he does not look fit. So I want to put that out there. But at this stage, a good Rice almost means a good Arsenal. So he definitely needs to be somebody that's, we need to start getting him up to speed, because he only has one game until we go to OT. And I am worried about his performances. Zubimendi has been really, really good. I think his little bobbles here and there are more of a fitness thing rather than anything else. He fits straight in. But I want to see him with Gyökeres. I want to see him with Gyökeres. I don't know I don't know where Kai was. And to be honest, we know what we look like with him, so who really cares? But hopefully it's not anything super bad. But I want to see Zubimendi with Gyökeres the next game with Rice and Odegaard, and hopefully Saka looks better. I don't know. I thought Timber looked pretty good. I thought Ben was okay. We look way better defensively with Gabriel. I know we conceded a goal while he was back there, but there was a grown up in the room. And when it's Kivior and Saliba or any other combination that does not include Gabriel, we cannot defend for our lives, not on set pieces, not at all. You know, he's our best box defender, and there's a reason for that. I'd mentioned this earlier. Mascara looked really good, I thought, but I'm not surprised. He's one of our better signings in terms of value for money, a good prospect. He fits right in. Um, and yeah, so, you know, we'll see how we look in the next game. But, you know, the alarm bell should be going off for Mikel. And I kind of think he needs to humble himself just a little bit and say, whatever I've been doing hasn't been working, and be okay with ridding yourself of this all for everyone mentality. And we're going to play the system, and the system is most important, and lean into your individuals and try to get the best out of your individuals and stop trying to make them make your system work, because it's not working. And you bought a striker, and if he goes too long without a goal, it's going to get dark. Arteta being a Pep disciple is fast becoming a myth. His second biggest influence seems to be Moyes and Alex McLeish. Rangers and Everton are where he thrived most as a player. That's dark. That's incredibly dark. He should actually return Timber to left back. He started there. Just give Ben more room, or even Mascara. I mean, I said this earlier, but with the way that Myles is looking, I feel like he's on the edges of fitness, and he probably just needs to chill out. So if Timber is a little bit more fit, I wouldn't mind having Timber, especially because like we're gonna play some really difficult games starting off the season, and Timber is a better defender than Myles. Myles is really, really good, but I would hate for him to get cooked a couple of times, you know, early on in the season. So maybe just for safety, put Timber back there. It's not like, you know, the left-hand side is supposed to be fluid at all. Arteta doesn't care about the left-hand side working in any way, shape, or form, so it'll be okay if Timber plays left back. We need to kind of batten down the hatches a little bit, get a little bit more secure back there, get our principles back, keep it simple, you know, so yeah. Let's see. We play NPC football. Hold on real quick. I'm still getting rid of this cold. Sorry, guys. I commend fans who wake up early and sleep late to watch this shit, especially during the season. It's a struggle. I mean, I'm one of them. I hate waking up for the 4:30 games. I'm gonna count them now so I can know how many times I need to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch this team play cornerball. I saw a few times our players got in the final third. Gyökeres was unmarked and they failed to even pass to him. There was a time where he was wide open. Marino would not shoot the ball into his feet. He had kind of came over to the left-hand side like he usually does. Marino had the ball. He could have passed it to him. He didn't. Waited until somebody got on him, then passed it to him when he was marked. Arteta should be fucking screaming at them and saying, give him the ball early. I don't care if the pass doesn't come off. I don't care if he loses the ball. I don't care if they score. I just want this guy to get the ball. I need you guys to get comfortable giving Gyökeres the ball. He's like adding to the bullshit by all this passing to people that stop passing to them. Pass it to him. Get him some touches on the ball. Every time he touched the ball, he at least looked like he had an intention to do something going towards the goal, whether that was cutting it back for one of his teammates or getting a shot off. That was really encouraging for a player that's not fit and is not getting any service whatsoever. Just imagine if we just attempted to give this player the ball in decent areas. Just imagine, you know? Arteta ball would incite someone's insomnia. There's no point in waking up to watch Arteta around ball. Hopefully that is because they are getting used to it and it's not a sign of how things will be. Yeah, I think, you know, positive side, like trying to think of it from a positive angle, is they're just not used to it. Um, But I would expect if like all the talking heads are coming out with their usual like, PR about it, about how he's changing the system and changing the way that we play to suit Gyökeres because he knows he has to, that we would see genuine signs of that right away. But the fact that they just weren't shooting it into his feet, they were just ignoring him at times. It's like, yeah, I think you should be screaming at them on the sideline to get it done, especially because there was never a point in which it felt like at a certain point that he just decided to go get the ball. There was one moment where the ball was just bouncing and he just took it and just turned and went towards the goal. And I wanted him to shoot so bad, but he tried to nick it to Saka. He should not have to struggle that much. Give him the ball. Come to Romania. I have an empty apartment for nice Arsenal guest Jess. We'll watch the games together at 5:30 or 7:30. I wish I could. I actually miss watching the games at normal times because you could have your day before and like you had a piece of the day where Arsenal couldn't touch it. But yeah, I mean, I miss watching the games at normal times because right now, if they don't win, it ruins your whole weekend. Like, it's crazy. It's infuriating to watch. Gyökeres needs the ball played to his feet and through passes. I'm tired of Arsenal ruin my day. At least I can watch these late games and go to sleep after. He needs to change that formation ASAP. The way we're playing will not work. We play chat GPT ball, no individual thought, data-driven football. That's like the best way to put it, chat GPT ball. I would love to see the team that will start at Old Trafford start against Bilbao. And I feel like it needs to include Gyökeres. I don't know why we would wait and play Marino or Kai. I just don't see. I don't know if we should continue on with something that we know is not going to reap the rewards long term. Yeah, maybe it's more comfortable for the team, but I think at some point you just need to rip the band-aid off anyway. And everybody knows how to play us with Kai Havertz up front. They know how to play us with Martinelli on the left. They know that they don't have to do anything on the left. The left will sort itself out. Because they won't ever be able to create an opening or anything or break you down on that side. It's rough. And stop the right and make sure that you just make a little crowd scene next to Havertz. He's not going to run in behind. He's not going to dribble through you. He's not going to take a shot from outside the box. Like, it's very easy to mark him. I would love to see Gyökeres start with Odegaard, Zubimendi, and Rice. I would actually like to see Nani start on the left from the beginning. We don't need to see Martinelli anymore. We know what he's giving. Or even do something more creative and play Ethan on the left or play Saka on the left and play Ethan on the right or something, do something different. Even Saka on the left and Nani on the right. I don't know. Just do something different. And then the back line, the back line is what it is. As we play more, and we, get Gabriel back, our defense will get more solid. I'm not worried about that. But at the same time, I see Marino before Havertz. Oh my God, can't do it. Like, remember at the back end of the season where you guys were asking me like, hey Jess, who do you think is a better striker, Marino or Havertz? And I said, I don't think that at this stage I should be even talking about this. I feel the same way. I feel like it's just dark that Marino versus Kai Havertz is a conversation, especially since we've bought, Gyökeres, but Marino in midfield. We did not touch on that, but he's so bad in midfield, yo. He's so bad in midfield, bro. He's so mad in midfield. It was driving me crazy how every touch was a tackle, essentially. Marino is the quintessential Arteta player. He is a midfielder that's like an idea of a midfielder, but he doesn't create football. And what I mean by that is like when he gets it, if the picture is not clear, He can't dribble past you. He can't find a neat and tidy pass. He's just going to turn and either get the ball taken away from him or fall on top of him and try to get a foul. He's not good in crowd scenes. He takes terrible touches. And yes, every once in a while he gets a nice ball, like, in between the seams, like he had against Real Madrid. He had one today, I think, to Gyökeres. But the majority of what he does is so anti what a midfielder should be that he's so, like, it's just, I've never seen like this is exactly what Arteta wants for his midfielders, though. He doesn't want athletes. He doesn't want players that create their own moments. He doesn't want anybody that you can pass to in a crowd scene, because his best midfielder for left center mid plays left back. He never once tried to play Zinchenko there. He loves this stiff, not a dribbler, not agile, slow, like he loves it. And Marino was driving me fucking crazy today. When he went to his forward, I was like, at least he's out of the way. But when he plays midfield, the level of that midfield drops down quite a fucking bit. So I don't know what we're going to do about that, but you have two players that were brought in for midfield that are really bad there. And it's, Marino was driving me fucking crazy. Martinelli and Marino on one side is enough to send you to the loony bin. Padded room stuff, so one thing Arsenal knows, we may not know much about certain things. It'd be like goalkeepers or top defenders at certain times, but the Emirates era has seen some bomb midfielders, at least attacking midfielders. DMs have eluded us, but attack midfielders, we know that. We know what an attack-minded midfielder looks like. We know what it looks like. We know Ramsey. He wasn't my favorite, but prime Ramsey walks into this bitch. Jack Wilshere, Santi, Ozil, Cesc. Like, we know what it looks like. Marino is not it. Marino is not it. People are like, he's a DM, he's a DM. I'm like, he's not a DM. The closer he gets to our goal, the more of a hazard he is. He's literally like an attacking midfielder or a center midfielder, an 8. Fuck me. Ramsey is class on top. What do you mean? Listen, I don't want to do a Ramsey conversation because it's not for today. I said he walks into this team, but he was not my guy. So yeah. So Marino is shit and Calafiori is Tommy 2.0. The 24-25 summer window will haunt us forever. We could have bought a center forward or a left wing, for fuck's sake. Did you see Kivior get nutmegged by Pepe? I just laughed. I mean, Kivior does all this building up and then finds a way to squander it very quickly. And he basically squandered everything today. All the goodwill that he built up was squandered today. I hope the rumors that Ben Jacobs was talking about were true, that he wants to go to Porto and they want to buy him, because I do think that strike before it's totally ruined. Because Kivior might end up playing those first couple of games in the season if Gabriel's not fully fit. And I can see him getting ripped, by Mbomo, getting ripped, by players like that. Ripped, so I think that it's better to sell now before all of that goodwill is lost. I'd rather see Saliba and Mascara. I'd rather see pretty much any other combination. There's something about Kivior where I think we're just about on the edge of him going through he builds it up and then he erases it. It's getting there. Today was not a good day for Kivior Hive. It was not. Let's see. Arteta talent ID at left center mid. How do you go from Xhaka to Mount to Havertz to Marino? I mean, he inherited Xhaka. This is the thing. It's like he inherited quite a few really good players and hasn't been able to replicate that level when he replaces them, like Aubameyang. Aubameyang, it took him a while to figure out the goalkeeper situation as well. We went through many goalkeepers after Emmy, and Emmy was obviously a really good goalkeeper. So he couldn't figure out life after Aubameyang. Arteta was doing up, I'm gonna make Eddie a world beater. Xhaka, he was gifted and has not been able to sort out his left half space since. He was gifted Saka, God forbid what happens after if we don't have Saka, because he was gifted Saka. So, yeah, I mean, Stark. Went from Sask Wilshere, Santi Ozil Rosicki to Marino Rice Xhaka types. Yeah. Why does it only take one bad game to go full toxic with Kiwi? No, I think what it is with Kiwi is, for me personally, is I do rate Kiwi and I think he's a good player. I just think that, he has some quite some big bad moments. And so he started off kind of bad and then he kind of built it back and then people are still leery of him. And I think he's in the category of players where we could sell, so do we ruin all of his goodwill that he's built up and let him have some more bad games and be unsellable next summer potentially, or do we sell now where people think of him as what he was when he played against Real Madrid? I just think he's on the edge right there, and I think there's enough bad games and good games to make an argument for Kiwi that he's not somebody that I feel like everybody is going to be behind, because it's not like he's had a clean bill of health. Like, he's not somebody that's been straightforward. He's had some really poor moments in an Arsenal shirt, but he's also had some good ones. So he's kind of like a mixed player. Arteta is so stubborn. He'll persist on what doesn't work to prove a point. Yeah, Arteta's he's not going to change. Big up Jess. Wanyeri disappointed me today. I mean, I saw people doing up, this is why he needs to start over Odegaard. I'm telling you, Ethan is a player that I think, first of all, when he plays, we need to play completely different with him than the way that we play with O. I think it needs to be really clear that he's the 10. When he plays so shunted out to the right, I think it limits his special qualities, because I think he's actually good kind of shifting from left to right. To be fair, I actually think Odegaard is better that way as well. But I think he just had, sorry, I need to blow my nose. I'm so my nose is still so stuffed. But I just think he had one of those games, guys. I don't have room to be disappointed in Ethan. I don't have room to be disappointed in Ethan. What attacker played well today? Genuinely. Saka was poor. Martinelli was really poor. Gyökeres didn't get any service. What attacker was actually really good today? I don't really have room. Oh, Dalman. That's it. So I don't really have room, to be disappointed in Ethan, because I feel like he's in a difficult position where he started off like a house on fire. And remember when he first came into the team, I was like, the best thing about him is he's not been Arteta-fied yet. I don't know if Arteta has the ability to develop Ethan, develop Dalman, and also win trophies, play good football. He has a lot on his plate right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ethan kind of fell through the cracks right now, because it's tough. I've never in my life said Wanyeri should start over Odegaard. I did say once or twice a few weeks ago, Madueke is better than Wanyeri in this moment in time. I mean, I just feel like, ultimately the biggest problem in our attack is not the individuals, it's the manager. And so I don't want to put too much, especially on a young player right now. Ethan is somebody that I do think can play good minutes for Arsenal next season, because I know people are deluded, but Odegaard's not going to not play. And I think the sooner people kind of accept that, the better, because I'm like, every time I see lineups without Odegaard, every time I see this, like, yeah, and the next we're going to sell, I'm like, no, probably not. So Ethan's going to play good minutes, but he's probably not going to be like playing over Odegaard every single game just because you guys want it to be that. But I would like to see Ethan playing, first of all, in a functional midfield. I think the midfield that he played with today was not functional. I think Norgard is a traditional DM. He played really well today, but a traditional DM that's not necessarily super like technical or going to break teams down, or he's not a Jorginho Zubamendi essentially. So, and then having Marino next to him is like having no midfield. Like it's not like not having no midfield. So they kept giving it to Ethan. I didn't necessarily feel like he had the options. It was just strange, but it was strange for everyone. So yeah, I think with Ethan, the problem is that a lot of people want him to be good enough to take over for Odegaard, but they're pushing him there into that position in vain because it's not coming from a genuine place. It's coming from a place of hate for Odegaard rather than realistic about Ethan. And if they let go of their disdain for Odegaard, they would realize that Ethan is just a young player doing young player shit. And you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, that it's like he's just a young player doing his thing. You know, he's playing under a manager that cannot coach an attack. So give him a minute. No creativity, no plan B, no freedom expressive football, no proactive subs, no in-game management. His in-game management is shocking. He's just not he's not clued in on how to change things once things are not going well. So once we're playing poorly, it's pretty much a certain that unless we get lucky or score on a corner or the other team just plays poorly and misses their chances, that we'll get out of there with all 3 points. He's just somebody that once it goes bad, it's just going to continue to be bad. And that's one of his worst qualities, but that's been what it's been from the very beginning. He's never been, there was only one season where I felt like he got it right, and that was 22-23, where he was actively pulling defenders off and bringing attackers on when we needed to score a goal. That was the only time I ever saw Mikel be proactive, and his in-game management was about winning and not protecting. So y'all want Unai Emery again, in-game tactics guru. Well, if your only thing is like, well, so you want Unai Emery instead, it's kind of like, is there no world in which we can just have a good manager that gets us over the line, helps us win, you know, plays good football? It's not all about the swap is going back to Emery, which is kind of like the fear mongering that the positive side of the fan base does every single time that we get into this space with Mikel, where Mikel is, you know, he's showing signs of not being the guy like he always does. The red flags are there. They always go into the fear mongering around. So you want to go back to Emery? You want to go back to the end of Arsene? And then people are like, oh, well, that's all that's going to happen. There's a world where we get a better manager and we just play better football and win things. Not everything just goes back to Unai Emery. Just I don't think fans doing Winieri any favor hyping him up. I don't think they're doing him any favors by overhyping him, but I also feel like we're not doing him any favors by pretending like this is not a young player. I think also what's hurting him is that Dowman has come in and he's a supremely talented young player and he's making a huge difference. And so now we're getting the comparison with Ethan, and we have shiny ball syndrome. It's the thing that's right in front of me that's new and shiny. Now the other thing, like, I don't want that anymore. And so Ethan is just fine. You know, he's just fine. Kivior is a decent defender, but just not an alpha type A defender that we can rely on. This is where we fail as a club to sell at the right time. This is the perfect time to sell Kivior. Because it's not super obvious. The fact that we're having a conversation about whether we should sell Kivior or not means he still has value, and there's a positive kind of like narrative around the player right now. This is the perfect time to sell somebody who probably not the perfect solution behind Gabriel, if we're honest. Has some inconsistencies that we probably need somebody a little bit more physical, I would say, somebody a little bit more confident. Um, so this would be a good opportunity, to, especially with Mascara coming in, where maybe we have a little bit of wiggle room to sell Kivior for more than what we bought him for, and then buy the jacket guy, have him for 2026, and upgrade, because that guy looks like in a year he'll be better than anything Kivior is at this stage. And I would love to have somebody like that jacket guy and Mascara as our fail proof if anything happens with Gabriel and Saliba. But we'll keep Kivior. He'll have a bad season or not play, and then we'll try to sell him next summer, and people will be like, fuck, we should have sold him last summer, because that's always what happens. Nobody wants another Emery. We want a manager who can get us over the line. We need Eze, and he needs to play as a 10. People need to chill with the showman stuff. Man, let's not pressure on the young man. People calling him the next Ronaldo. Like, chill. He's 15. Already started seeing failed Gyökeres comps. Hope we provide him with the right service to score goals. Otherwise, it's going to be a long season. I would say with the comps, I would just ignore those, because the reality is, when you buy a player like Gyökeres and he's viewed as the final piece of the puzzle, and he's so good and he scored a lot of goals, rivals are insecure. So they want to bring insecurity to a fan base that's incredibly insecure anyway, by putting out these fail comps and getting everybody to like repost them and all that kind of stuff. And so calling him 007, putting Timberland boots on him after a 15-minute cameo. Who cares about the fail comps? We watched the game. We know what happened. He did not get service. And when he did do stuff, even not being fit, he looked like somebody that can make stuff happen. I wouldn't worry about Gyökeres at all. Like, he's the least of our problems right now. And fail comps are definitely not important to us right now. Like, come on. Saliba will be off next summer 100% if we don't win anything. This manager has only improved Saka so far in a consistent basis for Arsenal, but the rest of the attacking players under him gone worse. Attacking players have not. Gabriel made such a difference today. I agree, Goyan. I agree. I think when Gabriel plays for Arsenal, we just look so much better. And I think, I get that Kivior did good in his absence, but he did good in his absence mostly in the Champions League. We looked shaky at the end of the season in the Premier League. There were too many mistakes being, it was just, we were so weak defending corners, couldn't defend set pieces for our lives. We're giving up soft goals. There's no leadership back there. So even with Gabriel half fit, he's a world-class center back and always starts for us. And there's no Calafiori, no Kivior, no nothing that would ever be able to take his spot. Like, I hate seeing anybody even suggest it, because I'm like, do you guys live in the same world that we're living in? Gabriel is fucking first name on the team. First of all, he's a real man. Arsenal need real men in this team. And we have a couple real men in this team. I would say, like, Saliba, most of the time, especially next to Gabriel, real man. Timber, real man. Rice, real man. Like, people that get shit done, and when the lights are bright, they fucking perform because they're not scared, yeah. But he's one of our main guys that are like that. And so with Arsenal, because our attacking players are shy under the lights, they're not as like, your defenders, those guys, they need to carry us. And Gabriel carries us a lot just by being a real man back there. He's really important to that back line. And Andrew says Saliba is meek, but he is just class. I think Saliba is just the individual back there. And Gabriel is really the leader, and that's fine. Yin and yang. I think they both look best with each other. They work together. That's why that combination works. But Saliba just doesn't have the leadership and also the box defending that Gabriel has. Gabriel's main thing is when it's time to get down and dirty to defend in that box, he knows how to do it. When we need to defend for our lives, he's the perfect person back there because he's going to slide. He's going to kick the ball out. He's going to head the ball out. He's going to do everything he can to make sure that he keeps that ball in the back of the net. Saliba's more of a superstar back there. He's more of a prima donna. He wants to sweep. He'll get his hands dirty every once in a while, but he's not going to be heading those balls out. He's not going to be, he's not going to be doing the box defending like Gabriel does. That's why they work so well together. So it's not that Saliba's like this weak kind of like, but it's just he needs a stronger defender next to him. And I think Gabriel needs maybe a little bit of that refinement of Saliba next to him. They work together. That's all it is. They work together. Madueke looked positive and direct. He consistently runs at his man and puts dangerous crosses in. He's going to be Arteta's Leroy Sané. Well, if Arteta can actually coach him up into be that, he has to actually coach. But Madueke, I will say that I think a lot of our fans were being a little bit harsh. I think they're trigger happy to say that he's flopped and he didn't work. So, fuck him. But I actually don't think he did anything really wrong in that 15 minutes that he played. I know he missed his pen, but who cares? I think Madueke, at least, like you said, wants to take his man on and stuff like that. But I just fear that the left-hand side is so underperforming and so lacks so much balance that anybody who plays on that side is going to look funny in comparison to the right. But he did put in a dangerous, low cross. I like that he didn't just kick it out, or kick it over or whatever, because whoever crosses on our left-hand side tends not to be very accurate. But I like that low and hard cross that he made. I think he got past his man easily. I would like to see him there again from the beginning. I don't think he was as bad as people are making out to seem, but I understand when you don't want a player, you're desperate to say it's wrong, it didn't work, it's failed. It was 15 minutes. 15 minutes. I should be seeing Eze to Arsenal by the end of the week. We need magical players who can create stuff out of nothing if we're going to have a chance of winning the league. Jess, is it true a section of our fan base prefers players with Nigerian heritage? I have no idea. If that part of the fan base exists, I have no idea about it, and I'm not a part of it. So Gabriel is more of a leader than Saliba. Saliba's not meek. I agree. I don't think Saliba's meek. I just think that he's kind of alone, he's kind of like a superstar back there. Like he does the sweeping and all that. Gabriel's more of like the enforcer back there. It works. Like it's not that either one of them is so bad at anything. We need our drugs. Arteta experimented against Tottenham and Villareal and got the placebo instead of the real deal. Saliba is a lone wolf. He focuses on his own game and doesn't command and organize the defense like Gabriel. Gabriel should have won player of the season for me instead of Rice. He was our best player last season. Gabriel and Timber should have been top 2. We currently have Martin Twinkgard as our captain. Not good. Having the captain's armband does not keep you from leading. I don't think that if you're a leader no matter what. I think fans focus a lot on the captaincy. But if you're a leader, you lead. It never stopped Rice from leading. It doesn't stop Gabriel from leading. I think the problem is fans need a piece of cotton fabric thing on somebody's arm that they like more than Odegaard. But if you're a leader, you're a leader. Every team situation I've ever been in, if you're a leader, you lead no matter what. So the captaincy is so far beneath the importance of what's going on in this team that if you're seriously worried about who has a piece of, elastic around their arm, then I think you need to focus just a little bit. Gabriel should be the captain if we're being brutally honest, but maybe that's just me. Is it stopping him from leading? I don't know. This is what fans focus on. I really don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And I don't think it matters to the players either, to be honest. The fans don't like Odegaard, but they rate him. So Gabriel is one of the chief cornerstones. I call him the killer kryptonite of our soft touch era and reputation. I love the cross Madueke put in. Martinelli's crosses do my head in because he hit them to no man's land most of the time, never consistently in the area that can do damage. Saliba rarely commands the positioning. He does the job and he's being quiet about it, while Gabriel is a shout-out leader and he's not afraid to command or advise, which is why I say that no piece of elastic is going to stop a leader from actually leading. Let's be real. City just made Bernardo Silva their captain. Do you think that's going to stop any of their players from stepping up? No. I think only teams that are in a bad moment focus on shit like that. We can't score goals. Like, do you feel bad for Newcastle? Not really. The players should choose their own captain, not the fans who have nothing about the locker room dynamics, which I agree with. I just don't think it matters, to be honest. I think it matters in the sense of, their locker room dynamics and for the manager and, who he can relay things to and stuff like that. But fans hyper focus on the captain because they feel like the captain needs to be yelly and shouty and their version of a captain. But you see Gabriel and Rice still lead even without it. So we have a leadership group. It's really not that deep, but it's deep for people that do not like Odegaard. The first 6 games for Arsenal in the league will reveal anything. 2 words for Newcastle, hold that. Players should choose their own captain. Yeah, I read that. So yeah, of course, we're going to have a rough go of it. I think it's pretty set in stone. Of course, we'll probably play better, but if we can't score goals, that's our main problem. We're going to concede. That happens in football. Everybody concedes goals. But if you cannot score goals or create threat, that is going to be a big problem. And so the next game is going to be where I think everybody's going to be looking for things to click a little bit more. But I'm worried about Mikel's stubbornness. And, he looked kind of weird on the sideline, like he knew that things weren't working. So I wonder if that's going to trigger a reaction of, well, maybe I'm not doing the right thing, or maybe I'm not coaching them properly, instead of just, you need to do what I'm asking you better. So we'll see. Why do toxic positivity fans turn a blind eye to everything bad decisions Arteta makes? I don't know. I think once you get to the point where you start to see people turning on good players, I feel like how has he earned this level of complete and utter trust? He hasn't won anything outside of an FA Cup 5 seasons ago, in his first half season. So I get, that he has a little bit of credit in the bank, but credit in the bank only lasts for so long. And so I'm not quite sure why there's this infinite amount of trust, and how we'll look at players that we know are good, underperform, not play in positions that suit them, and we're still like, well, we just need to switch that player out and bring in somebody else. Because like I told you guys, people that were saying, well, if you just play Ethan instead of Odegaard, then everything will just fall into place. It didn't. And it's not because Ethan is not good. It's because we're still playing the same way. You can't just swap one creative player for the other and still play this stiff funeral football and everything is just going to fall into place. It doesn't work like that. We need more creativity, more movement, quicker play, more ingenuity, more confidence. We need a lot more. It's not going to be as simple as just get Odegaard out the team and put Ethan in. Not that easy. It's not going to be just put Noni on the left and take Martinelli out. It's not that simple. We're beyond that now. We need different tactics. We have been gaslit by these top gooners, forcing us to believe this manager is world-class. A world-class manager would have gotten this really good squad over the line with an effective system of play. Why can't keep blaming these players? Sometimes we need to look at the tactics. Off topic, did you complete all the episodes of Love Island, your favorite? Of course. Of course. I did watch, well, I finished all of USA, obviously. I watched that in real time. And I'm a Nicolandria, and we did well. We got to the final, but we didn't win, so that's okay. But that's how the cookie crumbles, and Maya won. And then I love Tony and Shakira and Yasmin, so I'm happy that they got to the final for UK. I love Tony down. That's my girl. And so I'm happy that they got to the final, and Tony and Cash won for sure. So of course, now I'm on my Big Brother and my challenge phase. So I'm into my competitive reality TV now. I'm over Love Island now, but that was fun while it lasted. It's not Top Gooners, it's Tactico's bar graph readers. I think we need an actual left back. Skelly might be a weak link next season. He don't look fit. I think there was like a little part of last season where we realized what somebody like a Tierney could bring. Now, I don't think that Tierney, I have like a little thing on here, but I don't think Tierney was groundbreaking, and I still believe that he needed to go. But there were things that he was doing that were just very simple. Tierney's an incredibly simple player, and I think the beauty of Tierney is the simplicity in his game. Get past your man, put in a really good cross, whip it. And he was doing that for us, and I think that's why people were a little bit, oh, we shouldn't have let Tierney go. We shouldn't have let Tierney go, because they're emotionally attached to him, but also he brought a simplicity to our game and an overlap and a good cross in that suit us, and whether we took advantage of it or not didn't really matter. So maybe they should have taken that and said, as much as I love Mascara down, we could have still got Mascara still, but maybe get rid of Kivior, get rid of Zinchenko, and replace them with a true left back. Not even like Hato, to me, was what we needed. I was saying like an Anthony Robinson type, somebody that bombs on and gives us something different, especially with our left-hand side seeming like whoever plays on that side needs a little bit more assistance. But we have a bunch of samey kind of profiles, a real lack of dynamism, in those positions. So I don't know why we didn't at least try to get something a little bit different. But a left back probably could have helped. I know that West Ham brought in a left back and he looks really good. I think his name is like, I'm not even going to try to pretend, like, is it El Hadji Diouf? Like almost like the old El Hadji Diouf, but a different one, a younger one, obviously, because that one doesn't play anymore. But he whipped it across for Bowen. That was so good in one of their preseason games. And I was like, we don't have a single player that can do that from the left-hand side for us. Not a single player can whip in a ball like that from the left-hand side for us. Just overlap. When they get in that position, boom, whip it. Then you just run in and kick the ball in the back of the net. But it would just be so nice to have some like simple kind of things that we're doing. Simple overlaps, good crosses, good runs. I would love for us to simplify our game a little bit, but alas, we're going into another season with center backs and midfielders playing left back and inverting. If Skelly isn't fit, we're pretty much effed. But the problem is, what do you put there? Tierney is gone. Zinni, yeah, right. Calafiori, good luck. Well, this is where icing out players like Zinchenko doesn't work, because you're going to need to use them and you're not going to get lucky because our injury records never leave us lucky. So maybe if you had a locked-in Zinchenko, you can use him. I still feel like he's underutilized in some ways. When we need to play up against deep blocks, I don't think there's anybody better than Zinchenko to unlock them. But we've completely just discarded that entire talent, like just because Arteta, I don't know, he just said, fuck him. He won't sell him, but he's like, fuck him, so you can't use any. Tierney's gone. Calafiori, like you said, is injured. But if you had a Zinchenko that would actually felt like he was a part of the team, maybe you could get something out of him. And he's probably the best person to play up against like Leeds or, teams that are going to sit back against us or whatever. He's not great defensively, but guess what? We're conceding anyway. So yeah. But I said earlier, we should just play Timber on that side and just lock it down. If MLS is not fit, because the one thing that you shouldn't do is flame him and put him into a situation where he's going to be so exposed. He's not fit. He's not playing well. Instead of saving him from himself, you're going to let him go out there and get destroyed. Not only is MLS is like enemy number one. They are waiting for him to fail. And so I think Arteta needs to think about that before we get to Old Trafford and figure out if he wants to maybe use Timber on that side just to save MLS a little bit, or if he wants to put him out there and let him flounder. Mikel has this much trust from fans who follow Arsenal recently and have only seen Arsenal at their worst period ever for a long time. Haven't seen the team win leagues or go invincible. Arteta sexuals are going to be working overtime this season defending their cult leader. Two things can be true. Is Arteta good enough? No, it doesn't mean fans like Lee Gunner were right from the start, because they weren't. None of them expected Arteta to challenge for leagues in the UCL. For me, the target for this season is top 4. Right now, if we made top 4, I would be like, okay, because I'm just being real, man. I'm just being real. Like, I'm not going to say things that I don't actually feel. I cannot tell you guys truthfully that I feel like what we've seen and what we bought in preseason is enough for us to win UCL or the Premier League. I've watched enough of Liverpool to know that they're going to blow every single team away 3-4. They may concede 3-1, 4-1, whatever, but they're not going to struggle against any of the small teams. They're not going to struggle. They're going to blow them away. And they're also playing with an energy and a freedom and an excitement that I just do not see with Arsenal. Chelsea, they're going to be gassed after winning the Club World Cup. They've added tons of talent to their team. They're under no pressure. They hit their benchmark when they were supposed to, and now they can go to the next step. Their players are out there in the streets talking about winning trophies. Like, our players don't talk about that kind of stuff, but theirs are. They're going to be a problem this season. We know that. And then you have City, who are just going to do a City. They're probably not going to struggle against the small teams. They have too much for the small teams. Will they be maybe as good as they were in the past? Maybe not. But they never have a deficiency enough in attacking areas to struggle against the small teams. Even if they put deep blocks against them, they'll still nick a goal. They'll still get a penalty, whatever. So that's going to leave us kind of at the bottom of that list, fighting with Newcastle, Man United, and Tottenham. We've already seen ourselves against Tottenham. It didn't look great. We're going to see ourselves the first game of the season against Man United. All they need is a couple wins and they'll be flying, because when they get hopium, it's done. And then Newcastle, because they're getting laughed at right now, but we didn't necessarily walk over them either. And, it's dark. It's dark. We would have to get a lot better for me to feel different. If our target is top 4 in 6th season with Arteta being manager, it's a big red flag. It's looking like 5th at this point. Why did we sign Nani? I don't hate him and want to support him, but that question pops over and over in my head, because we can never just do the right thing. Like, as much as I agree with you, I don't really hate Nani and I do want to support him. And I don't think he was bad today at all, but he's not the type of player that was going to change our fortunes on that left-hand side. He's not going to make teams scared. He's not somebody that instantly makes Arsenal look serious. He doesn't really solve any of our problems. He was just the wrong signing. And we've done that in 2 major windows. The 2 windows that we got 200 million to spend, we spent a big chunk of it on a player that doesn't solve any of our problems, unfortunately. And we're paying the price, so I like Nani, I think, not like him, but I want him to do well, and I know that he wants to be here. So it's like it's going to be hard for me to have an agenda against him forever. But ultimately, we just needed to go get a left winger, and they found a way to just mess that up. They just do not know how to buy wingers. Think about the wingers that we bought since Arteta's been here. He was gifted Saka and Martinelli. He's found a way to it's crazy because he can't figure out a way to make Martinelli play better, but yet and still he won't move him on. So it makes that's just annoying. You don't know how to use Martinelli. You don't know how to get the best out of him over the last 2 seasons, but yet and still you're so afraid to get rid of him. So the 2 wingers that you've bought at Arsenal have been Trossard and Nani. Mind you, we're supposed to be one of the best teams in the world, so you should be buying top quality wing signings. And I love Trossard, but he was a stopgap that somehow became a more important player because Martinelli's form dropped off, and then you bought Nani. So I don't know. But yeah, we just needed to buy a left winger. I don't know why we couldn't do it. Conrad, thank you so much for your super chat. Says there was a reason why Juve, Inter, Napoli, and AC Milan didn't try that hard for Calafiori. We took the bait. Calafiori is, when they said that he was going to come in and play the Stones role, I was like, oh, okay, that's really cool because the Stones role, he kind of plays almost like a center midfielder and, he gallops forward and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know he was also going to take on his injury record because essentially he's just as injury prone as John Stones. He is always injured. And as much as you may like him, if he wasn't as maybe as good looking as he is or scored that goal against Man City, I think people be even more harsh because he's just Tomiyasu. Like it's really just, and what it is doing is putting more pressure on an 18-year-old, and I don't like that. So play Timber on the left, shut things down. You can play Mascara at right back, you can play Ben White at right back, and just shut it down for a while. Let MLS just kind of simmer. And it'd be nice if Arteta had like a legitimate plan to move MLS to the midfield, because maybe that would take a little bit of pressure off of him, not having to think so hard about playing out of position. But he's not going to do that. So everyone knows Cal is a top player. It's just the injuries. Nani didn't wear the red bandana. Can't take him seriously. Can't even color coordinate on debut. I've gotten so bad on the left that I take Leao just to see something different. Whenever Cala plays, he makes our left half space so much better. Problem is his injuries, man. Why not just go for Barcola or Leao? They are so much better than Nani or Nelly at left wing. Calafiori not being available makes it harder for MLS to be thrown into midfield, to be fair. It does. But MLS should not be sequestered into left back anyway. He should just be played in the position that he's meant to be playing. It's only Arteta and Pep that will take a supremely talented midfielder and say, you know what, I'm going to put you in a position that's not your natural position and see how that works because I want to invert my fullback. Nobody else really does that. And I get that Pep has had success with it, but Arteta has tried it over and over again and it doesn't work. He did it with Partey. It was a train wreck. So you got away with it. And it was kind of like we didn't have any left backs, so we needed to play MLS. But now you have some players available. Just try to play him in midfield and take some pressure off of him. I guess that's what I'm saying is take some pressure off of MLS because you're going to break him. And if you break him, and then I look at Saka and he doesn't look the same, I'm going to be really upset. You're getting gifted Haaland gems and you're breaking them left and right? Nah. Arteta was ruthless when it comes to Ramsdale, Tierney, and Zinni, but can't do the same with Havertz, Martinelli, Odegaard, etc. I don't think anything will fix the left side. They spam shit down the right every time, and when it's on the left, it's a horseshoe back and right. I feel like it's by design. I feel like it's just by design. I feel like Arteta has accepted that the left-hand side doesn't work, and instead of forcing it to work better, he is doubling down, and he's like, well, I got away with it, so just keep doing it. Excuse me. Because I cannot imagine that you went from 22-23 where your left-hand side was just as good as your right, and then since then it hasn't worked, and you haven't tried to fix it at all, like in any way, shape, or form, and you're almost like doubling down on it. I don't know what he needs to see for him to know that he needs to break it down and start again, and not just change the players, but change the way that we try to make runs, change the way that we pass the ball, change the way that we try to approach the attack. And I agree with this about the Arteta being ruthless with certain players and not with others. I thought about this the other day. I was like, he couldn't wait to get Ramsdale out of that goal. And ultimately, I think he was rewarded for that ruthlessness. But when it comes to the players further forward, he doesn't have that same ruthlessness. And I'm not sure why he doesn't. Sandil says no one inverts fullbacks anymore. Remember when I did that video a couple, like maybe 2 months ago? And it was titled like Football is Evolving. And it was like right after, I think, the Champions League final. And we had that like long conversation about how, we're going to get left behind. We're still trying to perfect a style of football that we never won with, that was more like Pep's style of things, and now teams are moving away from that style, and we're still trying to perfect it and double down on it when we should just throw it in the trash and just go back to basics. And because the way that I hate this, the way that Barcelona and PSG are playing, and even Liverpool to a certain extent reminds me so much of the way that we played in 22-23. And I just wonder why we can't just go back to at least those principles. It won't be exactly the same, but you know, been off this whole inversion, stiff, juga de position, everybody in their own little areas, like bend that off and just go back to simple attacking principles. Because football is really evolving away. Like the best three teams in the world, in my opinion, and I think most people's opinion would probably be PSG, Barcelona, and Liverpool. And none of them play like they're not trying to recreate the wheel. They just have good attackers. They get them the ball in good positions, and they just kind of vibe. And we're the only ones that are breaking our brains trying to figure out how to break down deep blocks still. So, that was 2 months ago. And what we're doing today is what I was really afraid of was we're going to double down on a style that we never even perfected and it never even worked for us. And we should just be evolving away from it and trying something new. And he doesn't seem to get that, and it's not that we have to copy them verbatim. Pep and Klopp played completely different styles of football and went bar for bar with each other for years, but they played effective football that never turned their back on creativity and scoring lots of goals. Every iteration of Pep City scored a shit ton of goals, whether that was shared through a bunch of attackers like Sane, Sterling, Aguero, or where it was primarily funneled through a demon in Holland. But he never not had multiple creative players on the pitch at once. He never lacked goal scoring. There was always that, no matter what. With Klopp, there was never a time where you didn't think they would score. Arteta, he's not really getting that, so we need to kind of move away from this, but I don't know if Arteta feels like we have a problem. 22-23 was inverted fullback football. It was, but we didn't rely upon it to, like, if we couldn't, like, Zinchenko took a lot of touches, but we had other ways to kind of build up as well. We built up a lot through Ben White. We built up a lot through Odegaard. We built up a lot through Partey. We had multiple ways of getting up the pitch. We can go out down the right, down the left, whatever. So even though we had a heavy emphasis on Zinchenko pinching into midfield, we also had Gabriel Jesus coming back and becoming a part of midfield and having a free role. So I get it that we still inverted the left back, but it wasn't like what we're doing now, which is it's so prescriptive and sterile. And there's only one way that we can build up and create chances. Back then, yeah, if you shut down Zinchenko, we could just pass it to Odegaard. Partey would just punch it into Odegaard, and Odegaard would just take it and just get it to Martinelli. Easy, you know? Pep is amazing because he adapts pretty fast. He had a shit season, but still finished top 4, made mistakes, but kept changing things, unlike Arteta. I will say, however, despite my pessimism in the league, I do think that with Gyökeres in this team, we now have a realistic chance of UCL. I think we will do very well in the UCL this season. PSG don't have a blueprint. It's classic football. Fast dribblers up top, CMs in the middle, fullbacks that attack, press, and score goals. That's just basic football. And I do agree with that. But I feel like that's also pretty much how Barcelona and Liverpool play. It's a simplistic way of playing. Nobody plays this convoluted, breaking your brain to try to figure out how to break people down with all these passes and all these touches. And basically, like the tactical football that's taken over the sport that we love, they're just throwing that in the bin and they're just saying, just have some fun. Throw it in, just have some fun. Go out there, express yourself, get good attackers, get good midfielders, and just let it pop, But that's where we're at now in 2025, that the best teams play that way. And we played almost like that in 22-23. Yes, we had some of the Pepisms in there, but our players were expressing themselves. It was more simplistic in attack. The only thing that was a little bit more convoluted was the inverted left back. That was it. But there were times where Zinni was injured and we played Tierney and we played just as good. I remember we played Brentford away from home, beginning of 22-23, and Tierney played left back. Zinchenko didn't play because I think he was injured. We whooped them 3-0. So we didn't even need the inversion. We were just totally different back then. I understand the wanting of an inverted fullbacks to free up the eights to overload midfield, but they're not creative going forward and not direct enough, no final ball. We don't there's no point in inverting if we're not going to punch the ball. Like if Zinchenko's not punching the ball into Rice's feet, it doesn't make any difference. If you watch Zinchenko inverting in 22-23, he punched the ball into Xhaka's feet constantly. That was the way that we broke down those blocks. We didn't go around the houses. We just passed through. When they pressed onto us, Zinchenko would just hold on to it, punch it into Xhaka. Xhaka would bring the defensive line to him because obviously they needed to get to the ball, and then he would just punch it into space for Martinelli. There's no point in doing this if we're not going to take advantage of it. I agree with you. 22-23 was unexpected from AFC, and also there's a lot of failed performances from Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham. But in 22-23, I think we beat Tottenham both times. Did we not, or did we lose to them? I'm not sure. But what I will say about it's unexpected, and there was also a lot of failed performances. Name a time in that season where even if we didn't win, you felt like we weren't going to score. Name it. Against Man United away from home, yes, we lost that game. We lost 3-1, but I don't think Partey played. I think Sambi played, or Sambi came in. Once he came in, he wasn't blocking out the space, and they passed 2 straight balls through, and Rashford ran onto them. That's, that happens. But we also had a goal unfairly taken away from us. If we had went up 2-1 after, because we conceded first and then we equalized, if we had scored the second goal, we probably would have won that game. So, but again, there was never a time where we felt like we were blunt. Against Chelsea, I'm trying to remember because I know away from home we beat them, and they haven't beat us since 2019. So what were the failed? How did we fail against Chelsea in that season? I'm concerned. I'm confused. Liverpool, we beat them at home. We drew from them away from home, but we scored 2 really good goals. And I've spoken to Hussam about this a million times, and he said the only time he's ever been afraid of Arsenal was that season when we played those first 20 minutes against them away from home in the run-in. Was the only time he's ever seen a team come to Anfield and bop them off the park. Yes, we collapsed, but that was more about us being young. Remember, this team was 3 years younger than it was now, and we had Ramsdale at the back. So was that really a failure, or was that just, because we did score 2 goals away from home at Anfield. Tottenham, I don't remember those. I remember us beating them at home pretty easily, 3-1. I remember Emerson getting sent off in that game, and I don't remember what we did away from home, but I don't know if I would classify any of those as failures. I think he meant that those teams weren't good that season. Victor Gyökeres. Okay, splashing 100 million on world-class midfielder and misplacing him is a sackable offense alone. Let's talk about Rice in the 8. He's part of the issue. He can't play in the half space, and he's also scared to play a forward pass. I don't think he's afraid to make a forward pass. I think that is a weird narrative that got brought up by people that just don't like Rice because they feel like other players just play forward all the time. But the problem with Rice is not he's afraid to pass forward. He actually plays more progressive passes than almost anybody else in Europe, so that's false. But it's about the way Arteta was using him. When he played in 2023, 2024 at the back end of that season, he played next to Jorginho. His starting position was much deeper. Now the way that Arteta plays him is he's almost up in the line of 5 up front, and that doesn't suit him. This is an Arteta problem. This is not a Rice problem. I know people want it to be a Rice problem because they want to say he's not any good, but that would mean that all the times throughout these last 3 seasons that he's been an Arsenal player and he's been in teams of the season, he's broke records for goals and assists and, his personal records, and then also being a part of teams of the season, player of the season, whatever. That would not happen if he was playing like shit every game. Nobody likes him in 6, nobody likes him in 8, but he's still getting more and still improving on his game year on year. This is an Arteta problem. It just is. most of the problems that we have in the front five are Mikel problems. Front five, Mikel problems. The only thing he tends to get right is the 6 and the 4 behind them. That's it. The front five, yeah, no. We should put Zubamendi in the 8 and Rice in the 6, like how we played against Liverpool with Rice and Jorginho. But we didn't put Jorginho in the 8 and Rice in the 6. I think we get so bogged down in 6 and 8 and all that kind of stuff. The biggest difference in 23-24, when we played some of our best football under Mikel, was that Jorginho and Rice switched. Sometimes Jorginho was deeper, sometimes Rice was higher, but they kept doing this, which made it harder for them to mark. And when we were defending, both of them were sitting in a double pivot and the 10 was free. That's how you got the goal against Chelsea at home, where Odegaard just happened to be on the left and passed that ball into Havertz and he scores. That doesn't happen that doesn't happen in 2025 because the right center mid is always on the right. We have completely disbanded a system and a way of play that suits everybody in our team. Zubamendi and Rice in a deeper position next to each other, where Zubamendi sometimes carry, because we haven't even seen Zubamendi really carry the ball yet. Zubamendi carry it forward, Rice stays deeper, Rice carries it forward, Zubamendi stays deeper, but they both go from a deeper position. We haven't seen that yet because Rice is all out here in space. So yeah, like I agree with you that some of our best games have come when maybe we get to see the 6 a little bit further forward and Rice comes a little bit deeper. But ultimately, it's not about 6 and 8 and 10s and all that kind of stuff. It's about having more freedom and more flexibility and playing players in starting positions that suit them. And then their ending positions also suit them a little bit better. Rice, when he comes from a deeper position and dribbles forward, he's so much better than when he starts high and he's already in the left half space with a crowd scene. It's not really his bag, right? So I think there's also in that same Chelsea game, he gets the ball, we pass it around, we do really well. They give it to Rice. Rice dribbles all the way up by himself, and then he dishes it quickly to Trossard. Boom, goal. That's our first goal in the first 4 minutes. You won't see that now because Rice is always up in the front five. This is what, like, the Rice thing drives me nuts because this is a player that you cannot misprofile or not get 100% from, because this is the only time the Cronkies have ever sanctioned a signing like this. If it doesn't go right and doesn't bear fruit, then they'll never feel like we should ever invest 100 million on a player again. And so Arteta's misuse of the player is going to have ramifications down the line. And so I'd rather him just kind of say fuck it and just play the way that we did with Jorginho and Rice in 23-24 and stop whatever he's trying to do now, because it doesn't work. Rice can still be a Steven Gerrard starting in a deeper position. He doesn't have to be all the way up there from the very beginning. We just can't lose against Man United. The tempo has to be set from the initial tough run. Arteta has to get this sorted. He has one game to get it fixed. Watching the Arteta post-match video, he is so depressed. Imagine what his players are feeling, what the fans are feeling. We're all fucking depressed. Like, the players look like they are going to a funeral every time they play for Arsenal Football Club. They should be excited to start a new season and potentially win things. They're not excited. They don't want to play this shit football, Mikel. Just either walk because you know you're not good enough, or change. Those are your two options, buddy. Walk or change. Fully, just go into the Gyökeres thing and say, this is what we need to do to make Gyökeres work. This is what we need to do to make Martinelli and Saka work. Bin off the system. Stop trying to make the system the star and make the individuals in attack the star. Just do it. Like, go talk to Arsene. Please, go talk to Arsene. Ask him. He'll tell you. The fuck? The situation is so shit. The only club depressed by preseason is us. He is the only one making the entire club depressed. Our final third needs to improve for sure. Oh my gosh. He's drowning. He's drowning. Rice's biggest strength is his ability to power into space with his long strides, as well as his ball shooting technique. Yet in this team, it is rarely utilized. I'm going to retweet it again, but if you guys are following me on Twitter, I implore you to watch it. There is a comp of Rice in 23-24 from the beginning to the end. Most of those clips, like in those clips, he's either playing in the 6 or he's playing next to Jorginho. I want you guys to watch it so closely and tell me that this player, 1, can't pass forward, and 2, cannot play in a deeper position. He just is so much better when he's playing at the base of a midfield. Yes, he can gallop forward, and like you said, striding into space is like what he does best, but he can't do that from a higher position. He's not using him right. Like, there's just no way. Let's see. Mikel could never coach Arsen's play. He ain't got it. He's just a cone coach that drills positioning. Arteta is going out sad. Wow, you should do a collab with Gunnar Gossip TV. Sophie, I should. I need to get in touch with her again. It's crazy. That's this team. Just swap Zuby and Rice. The thing with 22-23 was a season with no pressure. We had nothing to lose. No one knew what to expect or what the target was. I think there's an element of that, and I think that's what a lot of people use to almost protect Mikel a little bit and say, well, teams didn't know what they were seeing and they got used to us and then they changed and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know if you can find it online or just look at clips of it, but go back to 2023, 22-23, second half of the season, when, remember, we hit a bit of a blip back then, but we played a couple of games. There was a couple in particular where we played Everton at home, we played Leeds at home, and we played Crystal Palace at home. All 3 of those teams played pretty much in the same way. Everton probably the most so, in a deep block. None of those teams were open. None of those teams, came out swinging, throwing bows. None of them were doing that. They all kind of just sat in their shape, tried to hit us on the counter. If you don't look at the Crystal Palace or the Leeds game, please look at the Everton game. Because as much as people want to say that teams cottoned on to us and then now they just sit in a deep block and now it's just so hard for us to break them down, we were facing deep blocks in the second half of the season because teams got to sit during the World Cup and see what we were doing. They actually cottoned on to us in the second half of the season. Second half of the season, we went up against quite a few deep blocks. Go watch those clips or the full game that we played against Everton at home. We beat their ass 4-0. And they sat in their box the entire time. They tried to hit us on the counter. I think Ramsdale made a couple good saves, but ultimately, I understand that there was a looseness and a freeness about not having expectations, but there's also a heaviness that comes from playing a style that almost tells you that you're rigid and you're scared. And so if we didn't play in a way that was scared, maybe the players would be more confident. I think that's a convenient excuse to justify Arteta's way of play now. But ultimately, as a manager of a big club, there's never going to be a time where there is no pressure, there isn't anything to lose. So if you can't adjust and still remain loose and find freedom and fun within the pressure, then this is not the job for you, because your nervousness and your anxiety is trickling down to your style of play and is making your players less able to express themselves. And now they look heavy. Now the fans are heavy too. So ultimately, this just all goes back to Arteta not being the guy. There's never not going to be pressure and there's never not going to be nothing to lose, but you still need to find levity and fun and energy in your play under pressure. You just must, you just must. But 22-23 also proved Arteta's naivety as a manager. When we started feeling the pressure, Arteta kept saying he believes we can win it. Arne Slot denied title talk until it was virtually his. That's interesting too. Like, I do think if we had another manager, we win the league in that season. I think we should have won in that season. I stand by that. I don't think a Saliba injury is enough to take you down. Not when you're like 5 to 8 points ahead when we were. And when you played Southampton and West Ham in particular, you win those 2 games, you win the league. It's not like you didn't have to beat City on the last day of the season or the second to last day of the season. You had to beat Southampton, you had to beat West Ham, right? And they're not very good teams. So, yeah, I think Arteta crumbled then. And his inability to, I think, again, create levity in a time of pressure made the team like not excited to do those last couple of games and win it. It made them so scared to lose it. And Arteta is a scared to lose it guy. He's not an excited to gain it or snatch it. And you can see that with all of our play. And that's why I don't think I don't think he has what it takes. Good managers don't clutch. They grab and take, and if you ever watched us win anything before, Arsene, he was always calm under pressure. And whether we wanted or not was, sometimes we wanted, sometimes we didn't. But, especially when we were really good, there was always an element of relaxation with Arsene. There was always a confidence. We still played our way. When we lost, we didn't capitulate. When we won, we didn't over celebrate. It was just just confidence and just relaxation, blah, blah, blah. Fans were more relaxed, players were relaxed. Arteta just seems very, all the time, and he's making me, I don't want to feel like that. That 4-0 Everton game, look at Saka's positioning for the first goal. You think he would be in that position now? Never. But tell Ash, are we playing against a deep block? Are Everton open? Let me know. Because everybody keeps saying that now we're playing up against all these deep blocks. We never played against deep blocks in 22-23. Yes, the fuck we did. I remember sitting here having conversations with you guys about, because one of the first games when we first came back was against Everton away, and we really struggled in that game, and I think we drew 0-0 or something like that. And it was like the first signs of like, oh shit, motherfuckers are playing us different now. But we still came up against deep blocks during that time. Crystal Palace were locked in their box when we played against them at home. Leeds were locked in their box when we played against them at home. I think we beat Crystal Palace 3-1. We beat Leeds 4-1. We beat Everton 4-0. Like, I'm not trying to hear that shit. We played against deep blocks, you guys. Stop lying. We did. We just played better attacking football. Also, you had somebody like, Gabriel Jesus at times, like he was also kind of missing in certain points. But having somebody like Gabriel Jesus that can break down blocks by actually dribbling past people and making people have to shift their position helped us. We lacked dribblers in the final third, and that's hurt us as well. 22-23 was only a gamble, never Arteta's idea. Any elite manager would take it with those players. The way Teta ghosted Zinni from midfield for a bad left back performance. When are we getting Rivalry Aside episode 2? I need to figure out who I'm going to bring on for the Manchester United one. So I messaged Saeed. He didn't message me back because I guess I'm not on his radar, which is okay. So I'm probably going to message Alice. If I can't get Alice, I'll just go down the list, but it should happen sometime before the Manchester United game. Let's see. Zubi and Rice double pivot should be used for them both to cancel out each other's weaknesses, as a manager system should inherently be trying to max out the player's strengths and hide their weaknesses. I mean, yeah, of course. We talk about this all the time. How many of our players' weaknesses are being put up in front of us in bright lights these days? I mean, Martinelli in particular, I think, is a victim of all of his flaws being displayed in front of us every single game, where we didn't think he had these weaknesses in 22-23, but everything about the way that we played back then suited his style a little bit more. And if we're playing in a way now that doesn't suit him and you're not willing to change, then I'm also not really understanding why you're unwilling to buy somebody that actually fits that style. I think that's what really confuses me about Martinelli. It's obviously I can see him going to another team and doing well if they play on the counter, they play more of a direct style, and they allow him to come central more, take less touches, things like that, not put him on the touchline. But Arteta wants to play this style, but will not sell Martinelli. Because if it was me and I was like, all right, this guy does not suit my style, I need somebody who's better 1v1, somebody that has more ingenuity, somebody that's more creative, then I would have bought that left wing, not Nani. I would have bought that left wing and I would have told Martinelli, you're not a starter. I don't know how much playing time you're going to get. You might want to find somewhere else to be. But Arteta is clutching onto Martinelli for dear life. So I don't really get it. KG and Flex also would be a shout for the Rivalry Aside show. Yeah, they're really funny. I would love to get them on. I have to see how this Manchester United thing goes because you guys know this is my personal 9/11. So everything about what's about to happen in the next week is preparing to ruin my month, and I'm very concerned because there's nothing that will take me down a rabbit hole of negativity like losing to those guys. So yeah, it's feeling dark. Odegaard is poorly coached. Have you seen Odegaard for Norway? Completely different player. Definitely not KG. Be frustrated. A lot of things that we do frustrate and confuse me. So I think we're all just confused. There's 1,800 of you guys watching on all platforms. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Do you think in this style, if Odegaard was on the left and Rice was on the right, that it would work better because it's more natural to their dominant foot? I think in some aspects, yes. Like I think I really kind of pushed back on the Odegaard on the left before, but as things go on and the left-hand side continues to be a problem, I think he could help that side quite a bit. I think my only thing would be that we need a really good defender on that side um, to just kind of shore things up on that side a little bit. But um, what I would like to see, besides us just switching their positions, is just allowing them to naturally get closer, float into those channels without feeling like they have to stay in these very rigid parameters on one side or the other. I don't think I feel like the midfielders pass to each other enough for me. I think when like it was Xhaka, Party, and Odegaard, you often saw, Party pass to Xhaka, Zinchenko pass to Xhaka, Party pass to Odegaard. You used to see those combinations quite a bit, and they were a lot closer together. So we would do the one touch passing a lot more. I cannot remember seeing Odegaard pass to Rice or the six pass to Rice. He's so not engaged in what's going on in midfield. We don't see 1-2 touch passing. It's very like separate. So I would like to see them have more freedom, and I wouldn't mind seeing Odegaard pop up on the left and Rice pop up on the right so that they're on their natural foot so they can make those passes earlier and more accurately. But the fact that we've never tried it, it's kind of like James AFTV video after the Spurs game on tactics was so good. I need to go watch that. I haven't watched it yet. Prepare for 2-0 United. I'm telling you now. I'm worried for Man United because they have been on the upward trajectory this preseason, whereas we've been on a downward trend. I mean, as soon as the schedule came out, I was like, all right, so Manchester United is always a bogey team for us going to Old Trafford anyway. We don't win there very often. I know we won there last season, but it's like, or not not the most recent season, but the season prior. But even when we were really good, we lost there. So there's a very good possibility that we drop points there, if not lose, especially if they've redone their attack so much that I feel like they're turning a new page. They can fully throw last season away and start anew, where I don't think we're getting the opportunity to start anew. We're kind of going into the next like this season with the scars of the past 2 or 3 seasons. So, yeah. I don't know what we're going to do against United. I don't. I just fear we're going to get the typical passing around in the horseshoe and then they hit us on the counter. So, yeah. Let's see. If United get Baliba, we're 100% losing to them because the only thing that gives us an edge over United, in my opinion, is their midfield. But they're fixing that now with Cunha and Baliba. Yeah, no, I hear that. If you defend, you have 80% chance to beat us. United defend in blocks of 6, 5, and 6 and have counterattack players 2-0 United light work. Yeah, I mean, it's like any mid-table team that we play. At this point, like even with like Newcastle, it was happening. Even today it happened. It's just it's not even like unique to United. It's just the script. If you want to beat Arsenal, sit in your block and hit on the counter. It's just not that deep. It's not groundbreaking. It's nothing. But we used to get hit on the counter in 22-23, but we always knew we could come back and score. We know we're not going to score. Even today, it's just we conceded early in that game. I felt like maybe in like the 20th minute or something like that. I can't really remember, but to muster any sort of opportunity, it had to come from a corner. Like Arteta is lost. I don't know what to tell you guys. I really want to give you guys like no, Arteta will get it. It's fine. Like we'll fix it. All we have to do is, but I really think that he's in the beginning stages of the crumble. I really think that he's a dead man walking because he's not going to change anything. Like that's just what it is. Let's see. We've won twice at Old Trafford with fans in the ground in the Premier League since 2002. We've also won twice at Anfield since 2009. We just don't do very well there. I think it's not on our side. Lyrical says, genuinely, why does Odegaard want to cuddle the right wing, just roam behind your striker? I guess if you still think that that's an Odegaard problem and not a systematic problem, then that's fair enough. But even when Ethan was playing there, it's not like you see him playing central, getting the ball punched to him between the lines. He's not floating to the left. He's not really, it's really just the way that we play. When I feel like when Arsenal fans accept that nobody has freedom, like literally nobody, it's not just Odegaard, left center mid, no freedom, left wing, right wing, striker, nobody roams. So it's not just an Odegaard situation. Arteta wants Odegaard near Saka so we can easily get the ball to Saka because it's the only way that we can score goals. When people accept that it's a systematic issue and it's not the players, then we can have more productive conversations because it's like, you still think that Odegaard is standing next to Saka because that's the only place that he wants to be? Like, come on. Like, Arteta is telling them to do this, and nobody's going to follow directions more than the captain. Like, I don't know. He needs to let the handbrake off. Max and Ethan play instinctively. The longer he stays, they will lose their unique qualities. He looks like a dead man walking because he was pale on the sidelines, like he's been playing the father from the Addams Family. We are so cooked to open goals in two preseason games. Yeah, it's never been more over. It's never been more over. The 2 open goals in 4 preseason games is a huge red flag. It's not just because we're not fit. It's not, we just do not score. We played against Villareal today. I'll say they could not pass out from the back to themselves. They were giving us the ball back. We were winning the ball off of them pretty easily as well. They did not play well. We could not muster anything against them. They just had to sit back in a pretty decent defensive structure, and that was it. Like, you should watch it. He basically highlighted the fact that we see the same things for the last 2 years, despite those same tactics not yielding results, predictable and stale, yet for no changing. Well, you guys know I agree with that because nothing has changed. I don't, it's just so, I don't know, because people are like, I saw in the chat, people are saying, where do we go from here? And I think the next logical place we go from here is a new manager. I just don't see how we get a change if the manager doesn't want to change, So, yeah. Let's see. Some of the squad players came back after the game to put in some more training. Noticeable that the captain, Martin Odegaard, was also out there working on being as sharp as possible. It seems like the start of a new season. Excuse me. Yeah, no. I mean, they can practice after, but why couldn't they? It's like, what about the game? What about the game? But listen, you guys, let's go ahead and get out of here. We've been going for almost 3 hours now, and I need to pack and I need to clean up my house. So you guys have distracted me for so many hours now, and I'm fucked now. I'm going to be up all night. But listen, I love talking to you guys ad nauseum. It's my favorite part of my day. So thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me. Thank you to all of my mods and the members and people that super chat and just regular chatting. That's fine. You guys know I love going to the chat. This community is all about helping each other get through long seasons as an Arsenal fan. And hopefully we have some positive things that happen this season and we can support each other when things are negative. That's just what this channel is about. So hopefully You got a little bit of therapy. I'm going to be in Hawaii starting on Friday. So this next week may be a little bit less active. I do think that I'm probably going to take that time just a little bit to reset, because I know that once we get into United in that first week or first couple of weeks, it's going to, it's going to be quite heavy. So unless something happens transfer wise, I may not be around, just FYI. And I may record like a little review for the Athletic Bilbao game, but I'll be back on the Friday, and then hopefully I can record something on Saturday or Friday afternoon when I get back. And then we're going to get into the mess. So yeah, guys, I love you guys so much. Hopefully we hear something about Eze. We get rid of some of these players and we move forward. But yeah, I'm tired. Like and subscribe on the way out. Thank you guys for all the, nice stuff about my trip. And I love you guys to death. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.